ACC just put on a clinic. He's unbelievable. Really made a pretty good team look ordinary.
Pull up a chair with Packer and Durham.
Wound up and ready to go.
Weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern on ACCN and streaming live on the ESPN app.
The Woj Pod with Adrian Wojnarowski.
The great Tim McMahon.
Luka is not Dirk, just like Kawhi Leonard was not Tim Duncan. Dirk gave them 2 decades of uncrackable loyalty. They are going to have to convince Luka that this is a place where he can consistently contend for championships. And if we're being maybe pessimistic, but I think realistic, there's probably a 3-year window to do that.
You can listen to the Woj Pod on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Happy Friday. So based on the weather that we were supposed to, well, no, I shouldn't say we were supposed to get. One cell already came through, Kev, but you look out, I was expecting it to look like Armageddon outside. The sun's out. It's beautiful. I should be out on the golf course right now.
Why aren't you?
Because we got a show to do. We got work to do. It's a Friday. It's a beautiful Friday. At
We got work to do?
We do got work. Well, yes, work is optional sometimes. I promise you that much. But we got a lot to get into. The streaking Reds. I did it. I was positive about the Reds, and that was the problem.
Yes.
When I am critical of the Reds, I think they're undefeated. And then when I try to be like pro Reds and try to give the people what they want, it backfires. So people should be pulling for me to rip their teams, because every time that happens, the opposite usually happens. But want to open up the show. Excited to bring on a familiar voice here on WING. We have Mark Neal here in studio with us, former host, longtime host of Dayton Sports Scene. Used to have the slot here on the show before we took over years ago. But Mark, it's been a while. Good to see you. And for those listening, good to hear you.
Yeah, good to see you guys too. It's nice to be back. For the record, no, I wasn't fired, so I'm allowed back in the building. No, it's great. We come back into town, my wife and I, quite a bit, and yep. I saw you last March, and you said, "Hey, next time you're in town, come on in." And of course, it's. I grew up in this building. I worked here, Kev. I worked with you 15 years, 17 years. So I grew up literally in this building, and parts of it I miss, certainly. Parts of it I don't, like anything else in life. But yeah, thanks. I'm glad to see you guys, and it's nice to be back in the studio.
So you left in 2018. So from 2018 to now, what is that number? What has happened in sports? What's the number one sports storyline that has happened that you wish you would have been on the air for?
Oh, wow.
Because you were on the air, obviously, after Ohio State won the national championship back in 2014. And at that time, I was just a few years into this, and I didn't realize how special that is to be able to host a show during a time that, the top team in the area wins. That hasn't happened since, obviously. We've seen them get to the national championship since then, and that didn't go too well this past year. But what's the one thing that's happened since you've left the airwaves that you're like, damn, I really would have killed to have a show during that time? Was it when the Reds, had another losing season? Was it?
I think what it would be for me would be the season that wasn't for Dayton. This was a team that was top 4. They had a lottery pick. They had another guy that was all conference on that team. They have a great coach, and they were going to be a number 1 seed. This isn't Dayton sliding in as a 6 seed or a 7 seed, or hey, they made the tournament. They were going to, for all intent and purpose, going to be a number 1 seed. And then that season, basically, because it didn't end, never started. I think people are going to look back at that season and say, oh yeah, that one, when that could have been the greatest season for the Flyers since '67 when they lost to Alcindor in the finals. The season that wasn't for the Flyers, because I'm surrounded by Wright State Raiders here. I'm the lone Flyer in the room. I would have been insufferable that season because that team had it. That team had what you need to win. That team, in my opinion, may not have won the national title, but man, they could have made a nice run because they got a guy that could get a bucket when you needed it, a perimeter guy that could get a bucket when you needed it, like Jalen. And then they had a guy like Obi who could bring the noise with a dunk, get the crowd going. You know, the Flyers would have traveled. The season that wasn't for the Flyers would have been the number one sports story for me that I would have missed over the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I remember when that happened. I remember game day was in town, and I said, I know people don't want to hear this, but the second best way for a season to come to an end, considering the circumstances, was the way it ended. The last memory of that team was cutting down the nets and hoisting up the A-10 championship on their home floor after having game day in town earlier that day. That was the last time that they played. They had flew to Brooklyn, I believe, to Barclays, and they were already there whenever that, the plug was pulled. So I said, look, just to put a positive spin on it, yes, it sucks that there was no March Madness, there was no NCAA tournament, but if the lasting memory of that group on the floor at the same time was them hoisting an A-10 championship trophy on their home floor, cutting down the nets after having game day on campus earlier that day, that's the second best way they could have ended that season, considering how tragic it ended. Of course, with something that was bigger than sports that ended it, but nonetheless, it was a tragic ending to a season for everybody. That's for sure.
Most schools, mid-major type schools, have that 1 year where they exceed what they usually do, and they get a 4 seed or a 3 seed. We saw it with Drake 1 year get a 4 seed, and we've seen it with a lot of other schools. That was Dayton's year where they were above what they usually are, and because they didn't get a chance to go any further, it's almost forgotten, sadly. But I expect more of those with the recruiting that they're doing right now, with what Anthony's able to sell as that program. I think the sky can be the limit for them.
You talked about all the Wright State Raiders surrounding you. I was, Kev, I remember I was like, I got crap too. Everyone's like, oh, when game day's in town, of course Kinner's going to be there. And I'm like, yes, why wouldn't I? That's really, why would you not? My goodness. If game day, like, let's say, and again, people can make their jokes, but if that ever happened the opposite, if something happened with Wright State like that, there'd be UD people taking advantage of that cool opportunity to go to experience something. But the town was electric that entire season. That was pretty special, but that day was pretty cool. It was unfortunate it couldn't be actually held in the arena though, but it didn't matter because the UD faithful just made that experience unbelievable.
You know what? I think the location it had it at made it even better. Because, we were in there like sardines, man. We were definitely breaking some fire codes.
And by the way, COVID was rampant during that time, by the way. We just didn't know what the hell it was at that time. So.
Exactly. And we talk about this all the time. Like, that was the last thing we did. Like, that's the last event we did before the world basically shut down. We talk about the Deontay Wilder fight that happened like the week before, and then boom, we're at game days in town. We're having a good time. We're taking video. We're hanging out with the fans and everything like that. We go to the game that evening, and then boom, that Wednesday, things just start changing. And now we're here.
Well, they had a basketball game. The Big East tournament started, and I've never seen at halftime. They're like, "Nah, we're not going back out." I was like, "A game started, and we're just like, that. It's a wrap."
It was from Carroll girls basketball. They were in the state championship, and I don't think it was. I think it was at St. John's, but either way, it's in Columbus, obviously. They were warming up. I remember a father of one of the players called into the show and said it was heartbreaking because that team, they were warming up. There was 15 minutes and 6 seconds on the warm-up clock when I believe it was Jerry Snodgrass and everyone had walked out onto the floor to say, we're canceling. It was the state semifinals. But that was a heartbreaking story to hear. It's one thing if you find out earlier in the week, hey, the season's done. But when, you know what I mean? Like, you're dressed, you already had your shoes are on, you already got a light sweat going, you're mentally focused on this game, and then they told you it's over. So a lot of just weird scenarios that happened, not just to UD basketball, but all over the place. There were so many different storylines that had happened that just were unthinkable, and hopefully we never experience those again. So now you live in Minnesota now, correct?
Yes, I do. Minneapolis.
So with that, like, what were some things that happened there during that COVID stretch that, like, having seasons coming to an end like that?
Wow. There was a lot of disappointment with the high school sports. That was something that was talked about a lot, certainly. But of course, the big stuff was what went down all around me with George Floyd. Cup Foods is probably 8 miles from my house. And then on the other side of where I live in Golden Valley, Minnesota. The other side is Brooklyn Center. So that's where the cop accidentally shot the kid. Unfortunately, right as the verdict was coming down. So that's been so much of the focus has been just the social unrest and the social changes that are being brought to light. And, Minneapolis was kind of the epicenter for a lot of that stuff, which is interesting having now living there. I'd really never been to Minneapolis until I moved there. And now being there 3 years to see all that kind of happen in your city is something that was educational, certainly. And just see that all unfold in your town was kind of an amazing thing to see.
All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine, here with you on a Friday. We have a lot to still get into. We're going to dive into last night's Reds game, of course, that we got to get to a point where, and I'm curious to getting the guys to my left and right's opinion on this. David Bell in the post game last night, and again, everyone just thinks I like to just jump on everything he says, but when you lose a game, the last thing I want to hear is it was just exciting to be a part of a game like that. The Reds lose, of course, late in the game after they put 4 runs up in the 9th inning, and it looked like, man, the Reds just right now have lightning in a bottle. They are just streaking. And by the way, 1 loss in a 162-game season doesn't put an end to that. But what I don't want to have happen, what I don't want to hear is a manager say, you know what? That was great to be a part of. No, you lost. That was not great to be a part of it. I actually understand where he's coming from, but we're going to get into that on the other side. I want to know from you, the Reds fans. Again, we're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We have Mark Neal hanging out with us here in studio, and Kev Nash, his shoulder is live on Facebook. There we go.
Better.
There we go. But we'll step away for a few moments. When we come back, at what point will we get to with the Reds where we stop hoping that they win and start expecting it? We're not at the expecting it stage yet, but how much longer, how much more winning do the Reds have to do for us to finally get to the point where we expect it? We'll get to that on the other side. Mark Neal, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash hanging out with you here on a Friday. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash and Mark Neal, all presented by Orion Sports Medicine when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high near 90. Tonight's also going to be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a low near 68. And tomorrow will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high around 86. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane, making buying propane easy since 1952, offering budget billing and pre-buy options. Find out more at culletpropane.com.
This year, make Dad's day with gifts from the Home Depot. Save on all the best ideas by shopping in-store or on the app. Choose from new innovative tools, top-rated grills, or even the latest smart cameras and devices for your home. Because what Dad doesn't love? New gear. The best gifts for the best dads. And you'll find them all at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. See store for details. Restrictions apply.
Get Dad the perfect gift now at Macy's Father's Day sale with an extra 25% off his favorite designers with your coupon or Macy's card. That's on top of already great deals for him, like swim from Club Room starting at $9.99 and his new favorite jeans, just $19.99. Or shop specials like 50% off Bulova watches. Plus, get your gifts even faster with same-day delivery powered by DoorDash. Now at Macy's. Savings off regular sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
At CDW, we get balancing disparate clouds can be messy.
Yep, it's like an ice cream cone. The more scoops you get, the greater the risk of failure.
Well, if you want 5 scoops, you should get 5 scoops. And with the Nutanix Enterprise Cloud Solution orchestrated by CDW, you can manage applications and data across all your clouds from a single point of control.
Is it weird that my mouth is watering?
A little. IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/Nutanix.
O'Reilly. Ready for an oil change? The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are here to help. We'll make sure you have all the supplies you need to make the job quick and easy. Right now, get 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for just $28.95. Plus, get a $10 gift card after mail-in rebate. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
OHMB 803342 and MLS 04138. Do you need help with a loan to purchase or refinance your home? Have you applied for a home loan and been told you do not qualify for a loan? Are you a first-time buyer and have questions regarding the home buying process? Are you considering refinancing your existing home? Do you live in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, or South Carolina? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you need to call Forrest Ferris at 3rd Street Financial Home Loans at 513-320-5911, who is available 7 days a week to help you. We're 3rd Street Financial Home Loans, and Forrest Ferris specializes in approving home loans banks and other lenders cannot or will not approve. Some of our clients might have low credit scores, been through a divorce, want to buy a home for sale by owner, are in a land contract, or dealing with probate or estate homes. Call Forrest now for a free estimate, 513-320-5911. That's 513-320-5911. Offer valid for purchase or refinancing of homes located in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and South Carolina only. Minimum loan amount $60,000. Limitations and restrictions apply.
Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps is celebrating the sunshine with a bunch of fresh new menu choices, from pizzas to salads to subs. See all the creative flavors in store for you right now at milanosubs.com.
Have you been seeking a final resting place for your loved one's cremated remains? Are you tired of endlessly searching to find a permanent home for a family member that gives you peace of mind, offers more security than the mantle, and doesn't cost thousands of dollars? This is Mark Davis from Dayton Memorial Park Cemetery, located at 8135 North Dixie Drive. We are pleased to announce a new product that offers families the opportunity to give their loved ones a permanent, serene, final resting place for as little as $300. Call us today at 937-890-1831.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Paint? No, Paramount isn't just paint. It's the #1 paint in overall interior hide and stain resistance, providing the most advanced protection in just one coat. And now you can get that same outstanding protection with our new Paramount One Coat White. This first of its kind one coat ready mix white provides a beautiful white finish. You'll find Paramount paint exclusively at Menards. In third-party tests, interior paint claims versus super premium home center brands in eggshell sheen.
Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Savings or mail-in rebate. See store for details.
I'm CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger with a quick tip from H2O Wireless on stretching your budget and saving money every month. Start with your recurring monthly bills, and here's the easiest one, your cell phone bill. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile charge premium rates for unlimited data, when in all actuality, you have no need for that much data. H2O Wireless, on the other hand, is on the exact same network as one of those carriers, but charges you half. The average family of four is saving over $70 a month without having to sacrifice coverage. And listen to this, unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data for just $36 per month. Switching is as easy as swapping out your SIM card. You can keep your phone and your phone number. Here's how to get the best deal. This month, dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Dial pound 250 and say get H2O for this exclusive offer and start saving today.
Indeed believes less is more. That's why they have powerful tools to help you source, screen, and hire quality people faster. Learn more at Indeed.com/credit.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER, and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, and, well, Mark Neal hanging out with us here in studio today. Mark, again, welcome. Excited to be hanging out with you here today. Again, happy Friday. For all of those out there who are at work and are making plans for the evening, just, again, this isn't a weather station, and I'm not going to pretend to be a weatherman, but at the same time, a lot of notifications out there to be wary of some of the horrible weather that's coming our way here tonight. So just keep that in mind. Be wary of everything going on coming in to the region here later on this evening. So it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine, and wanted to move into this part of the show about the Cincinnati Reds last night. Mark, I have a habit of when I am critical of the Reds, if I sit there and say, Joey Votto should not be hitting in the top half of the order, he'll have like 5 home runs in a game. No matter what I say, if I say get Eugenio Suarez out of there, he'll finally get a hit that night. If I say don't bring this pitcher in this night, he ends up pitching to Gem. It's uncanny how it happens.
And my favorite, when you went on vacation, they went on that 10-game winning streak last year.
So last year when I went to Florida, the Reds, I counted them out. I was like, there's no way. And then I come back and they're in the playoffs. So I'm like, sometimes it's a weird thing between me and the Reds. This Reds team is very interesting. They're hard to figure out. And they're 35-32 after the 6-4 loss last night. Again, Amir Garrett, just his struggles continue, even though he had kind of strung together a couple nice outings over the last month. It looked as if he was able to kind of get back on track. His ERA is well over 9 at this point. It's interesting. They moved on from, Iglesias last year, but now when they bring in Amir Garrett, it's this. I get the same feeling with him that I do when they used to bring in Iglesias. And Iglesias is pitching real well now as well, by the way. Not dominant, but he's still pitching real well. Amir Garrett was one of the Reds' better bullpen options over the last couple of years. And right now, they're just not able to count on him. They have the worst bullpen in baseball. And that finally caught up with them last night after sweeping the Brewers on the road at that.
Well, with Amir, he looks the part. Big left-handed kid, can throw hard. And they've always I feel like it's 5 straight years now. They're like, it's going to be either Amir Garrett or this guy. Amir Garrett's got closer stuff. He may. I just think that this is what Amir Garrett is. He's a middle relief guy that's awfully good sometimes and awfully hittable sometimes. Last night was the epitome of baseball. He had stars make plays, Tatis homers, Machado homers. Mark Melancon giving up 4 earned runs all season, gave up 4 earned runs last night. Mark Melancon shouldn't have even put the Reds in a position to have to blow a game because he's been unhittable this year, and ERA below 1 until last night. And then the Reds just gave it back. Baseball is just a weird sport, because there's so many games. 100-win team still loses by definition 62 games. So even really, really good teams, exceptionally good teams that win 100 games still lose a ton of them. And you just have to be able to survive. Hal McCoy always said you're going to win by 125 times, lose by 125 times. It's those games that are close, or maybe he said it was win by 3 or something like that. And it's those one-run games that you've got to come out on a winning record with. The Reds bullpen seemingly more often than not, I'm not talking this season, I'm talking year in, year out, is the biggest question mark on the team. And this year seems to be the same, especially with Antone out. Antone seems to be the best guy coming out of the bullpen, but he's good in his role. I don't know if he's a closer or not. But this Amir Garrett is going to have his days, and he's going to have his ups and his downs. That's why he just has never settled in as a closer.
Yeah, and coming into the season, those who like to be optimistic, I'm not saying I don't like to be optimistic, I just like to be a realist more, but those who like to be optimistic kept using the phrase, closer by committee, closer by committee. I'm like, I don't like that phrasing because in the NFL, it's never quarterback by committee. And if there is, they're usually not very good. And in the NBA, it's not point guard by committee or center by committee. If you have to put by committee at the end, it means you don't have that particular, position locked down. And the Reds didn't have a closer, particularly coming into the season. But this isn't just a closer issue. This is obviously an entire bullpen issue as far as that goes. Lorenzen, did you like the decision coming in? I know Lorenzen's been out the entire year anyways, but the decision to put him in the rotation?
I don't think they know what to do with Michael Lorenzen. I really don't. And I don't know if it's him chirping in people's ears or not. The bullpen for the Reds seems like I said before, it seems like it's always a work in progress. But the baseball is going away slowly from a lot of the old school ideals that they have had forever. When you talk about the shift and even getting rid of possibly the designated hitter in the National League and putting guys on essentially a ghost runner on second base to begin the extra innings. The one that I think needs to go away next is the save is the only thing that keeps the closer a thing. a closer, sometimes the inning they need to come in could be the 7th, could be the 8th. What's the point of having some middle relief guy come in and pitch to 3, 4, and 5 if your high paid closers coming in to pitch 6, 7, and 8? I'd rather them pitch against 3, 4, and 5. But it's about this save. That's the stat. I'm a fantasy baseball player, but so I like saves and all that stuff. But to me, the save is the most useless statistic in baseball, and it causes people to actually give a rip about whether somebody gets one because it's something useful for arbitration. I would put my closer in against the most important outs. And sometimes those most important outs, and I'm sorry, some old baseball head's going to tell me I'm wrong. They're going to tell me that their guesses are better than analytics. I'm sure that same person will say that. But getting the most important person out is probably the most important job of the closer, in my opinion.
And again, and to your point too, when you talk about how advanced analytics are used today, I think there's always analytics by the way, we act like analytics are new to the game. Analytics are part of every sport throughout the history of time. It's just, that's why they call them advanced analytics. And there's more, it's just more compounded analytics at that. But what I don't like is whenever baseball gets to the point where it becomes like an instruction manual. When this happens, do this. When this happens, do that. Sometimes there has to be a little bit of a balance. And, and I get a lot of, it's not a David Bell thing. It's baseball across the board.
Oh, a well-placed hunch is why you're there. If it was just plug and play, this isn't Stratomatic.
Did you read the Brian Price article, by the way, that USA Today put out? Brian Price, a lot of teams have reached out to try to get him to be their pitching coach or whatever. And he said, as long as baseball continues down this road, he wants nothing to do with it. He only managed one team. He never called out the Reds, but we all know who he's alluding to. He said that he, doesn't want anything to do with the game anymore moving forward. He's in full on retirement mode because he goes, when you have the front office is telling you what your lineup needs to be, who needs to pitch, how many innings they have to pitch, and who to bring in on certain nights. He goes, I have no role. There is no purpose for me being. So I just found that interesting. Again, that's not a Reds thing. I think that's just baseball across the board.
Same old grouchy guy that's screaming and yelling about analytics is the same guy that doesn't want a left-handed hitter hitting against a left-handed pitcher. That's analytics. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like analytics have gone.
Statistics
it's always been,
tell you that righties hit lefties better and vice versa. So that same guy that's like, I ain't listening to no computer. It's like, well, they got a righty out there. I better put a lefty out there. So you believe a little bit in analytics. I'm not saying that it's plug and chug, certainly. But to Brian Price's point, if they won't let you do your job, then that's a whole different side. A lot of people have had their job powers pulled from them, and it's the right of the people that are above you. But if he doesn't want to return because of that, I guess that's his choice. But I don't see the game of baseball going away from analytics. It's only going to go closer.
All right, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, Mark Neal hanging out with you here this afternoon on a Friday. So, Mark, last night the Reds, again, in, I shouldn't say in dramatic fashion. Well, it was dramatic fashion, but they go down 6-4 against the Padres. After in the post game, David Bell's not really known for giving these very, enthusiastic responses in any interview. I remember we had him on the day he was hired, and I was like, man, does this sound like a guy that just got his very first managerial job in baseball? I mean, I would hate to talk to him if he's upset because this is him on the most exciting day of his career. But in the post game, he said it was just a very exciting game to be, it was an exciting game to be a part of. And maybe I'm being too critical here, but it's like, those things you don't hear. You wouldn't hear Aaron Boone with the Yankees say that. You wouldn't hear these franchises who are traditionally known for winning, and the Reds were up until the last couple of decades, of course. But am I making too much of that? What are your thoughts? Do you hear managers say that? Because I'm at the point now where it's like I'm not excited that they were in a game like that. Like you swept the Cardinals 4 at the Cardinals. You just took 3 straight from the first place Brewers at the Brewers, and now you go from that to saying, "Well, we're just happy to even be in a game like this." I just find that odd to me. Maybe I'm being too critical there.
It depends. Sometimes those late inning losses cause another one. Tom Nichols with the Dragons always told me that. He goes, the hardest thing about a loss in the 9th inning is that it usually perpetuates itself and causes another loss the next night. And if that's the case, then no, it's not a learning. I think that's what David Bell was trying to say. It was that this was a great game. We played hard. We just came up on the wrong end of the stick. You can't approach, in my opinion, baseball like you do football. I mean, in before a baseball game, people aren't ramming heads and spitting in each other's mouths like Latimer. You go in there with a calmer demeanor. You go in there with a more reserved approach, and you got a game tomorrow. So I think in football, you don't go, even though we lost, it was a great game to be a part of, because there's only 16. When there's 162 games, I think that you have to take losses and take something away from them that's of substance and move forward from it. So I don't really hold that against David Bell. I was the first guy, Justin, back in the day to do the same thing you're doing, but I did it to David Price and I did it to all the guys that preceded him. Day to day was a big thing because I was on air every day and I had to make it a big deal every day. But I don't know that it is as big a deal. You don't want it to lead to more of them, but in a one game thing, and baseball is just a different approach than it is certainly in football, and you can take things away even in a loss.
Yeah, and again in baseball, I don't care about win streaks in baseball. I care about series win streaks. I care about maybe look at the last 10, 15 games. That body of work kind of gives you a better idea of how they're playing. I'm not going to base it off a win-loss last night. But again, 3 very winnable games coming up. Again, this is a Padres team that's in front of the wild cards. I haven't even checked today. What did that do to them? Did that move them back a half a game?
I hadn't seen the standings yet.
But either way, they went into so they stayed the same. So at this point, with where the Reds are, that was a huge series with the Brewers. They made up a ton of ground, and I'm pulling it up now. So the Reds are so they dropped a game. So they're 3 games back of the division. The Cubs are sitting in first place right now, and then you look at the wild card, which that's who the Reds are trailing right now in the wild card is the Padres. So 2 very huge series that maybe a month ago I don't think we were going to circle that Brewers and Padres series back to back as being big ones, and it's only June, but this is a huge series. Splitting at the very least is what you would ideally like to see, but it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of pans out and finishes. I'm curious how they come out tonight. Also, the pitching's been really, really good during this stretch. And it's taken the Reds, I think back-to-back or 3 straight games where the Reds haven't been able to get anything going run-wise until late in the ball game. It was a very similar game to that last game against the Brewers when they came back and won.
Well, the offense is really, this isn't exactly a newsflash, but it's really because Castellanos and Winker heavy. Suarez has not been anywhere near as consistent as they thought, a 50 home run type of guy. Mm-hmm. They tried him at shortstop, and that ended quickly. Castillo has been a nightmare. That guy couldn't hit the boat if he fell out. He couldn't hit the ocean if he fell out of the boat. He has been horrible. To think that they are that close to the playoffs with going into the season, their best hitter maybe, and certainly the guy that they saw as their ace coming in, maybe Sonny Gray, being substandard for what we expected. It's kind of impressive. This team strikes me as a team that, I think the Reds always have a tendency to say, well, let's trade someone away at the end. I would try to stick as much with this team as I can and say, there's something here we need to build on. And now that's not up to them. They could lose Castellanos after the season, and that would be devastating. And I don't see the Reds ponying up a bunch of money, which he will command because he is picking a great time to have a great year. This is the type of team that's like, wow, in the 80s would have been like, wow, we're going to have this team together for a while and we're going to build something here. But in microwave sports nowadays, I just don't know if it's going to happen fast.
Like Winker, he's yours. You developed him, and now he's on every trade rumor block out there.
Well, if the Reds are serious about winning anytime in the near future, they eventually have to just say, we're going to try to keep this team together that we've built.
When do you think their next big contract's coming? Obviously, Griffey was their big contract in the 2000s. Votto's was obviously the early 2010s. So it's another decade. So they're due for one, right? Who do you think? And it could be Winker, maybe, or it could be actually Castillo's actually done himself. He's not done himself any favors. I thought the next big contract we were going to see from the Reds was actually going to be Luis Castillo, but he has not been consistent enough to garner that type of money. When do you think we'll see that next big contract? And could it be Winker? I'm tired of seeing his name on the trade block.
Well, I'd like to see him do it again. He had a nice year last year. Of course, he could be MVP this year. I would have to see a little bit more out of him before I was ready to throw him money. The Reds should never and hopefully will never give crazy money to a pitcher in that ballpark. Unless I hired a contractor to move the walls back, which they should have done a long time ago. Move the walls back. There's no sense in paying big money for pitching there. I love what they get out of guys like Sonny Gray, who just doesn't give up hits. Sonny Gray is a ridiculously consistent and and effective. He's not a guy when you start saying, name the top 15 pitchers in baseball. His name isn't probably one that's going to fly out of your mouth, but it probably should when he's healthy. He had some ridiculous streak of games with 6 or less hits in today's game where offense is a little bit scarce compared to past years, but nonetheless, it's going to be to a hitter. I guess I haven't been on air in a while. I'm going around my elbow to get to my wrist. It'll be to a hitter. I need more out of Winker before I'm throwing a lot of money, because the Griffey thing didn't go so well. It might have been really cool to have Ken Griffey on the team, but the injuries cost a lot of what that could have been. The Joey Votto thing was nice, but these 10-year deals are a dang nightmare.
Did you see that the USA Today article that I thought was very interesting? Albert Pujols said that contract that they gave Votto, that was his. That was Pujols' contract, because that was right around the time Watt Jocketty had come over, of course. But the USA Today article that had come out is that he ultimately obviously picked the Angels because they got offered him $240 over 12 or $240 over 10 or whatever it was. But the Reds, that was supposed to be Albert Pujols' money, and obviously when he turned that down, that they went right to Joey Votto. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
I didn't know that was public knowledge.
I said on my show that the Cardinals should let Pujols walk, and people thought I was crazy. I think the Cardinals won the World Series the next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These contracts are, when the only thing guaranteed is the money going out and not the numbers coming in. I don't know. I have a real struggle with paying that many years. I think they interviewed David Sampson, who was the GM of the Angels at the time. He's either with the Marlins still or was recently. Anyway, he discussed the Pujols deal, saying that they didn't even really care at the time about 2020, 2021 because it was so far down the road. But they also try to tell you that Albert Pujols is younger than me. I mean, he might be, but if he were an oak tree and we could count the rings on that guy, I don't know, but wow, they're trying to tell me he's younger than me. I must be living real well then. But those contracts are real dangerous, especially for a team like the Cincinnati Reds, where when you pay that kind of money, it's like, all right, all we need from you now are 45 home runs, 115 RBIs, score 100 runs, and bat 310 or 315. That's all we need from you for the life of the contract, because we can't put much else around you. That's just a lot to ask out of a team that doesn't have a whole lot of wiggle when you give that kind of contract.
Neil, you brought up the pitchers a couple minutes ago. Where are you at with this whole spider tacker thing that's going on in MLB?
Well, like a lot of things in life, people try to push the boundaries. Now, MLB, I just have troubles believing that MLB doesn't want them to put anything on the ball. I mean, they have a rosin bag there for a reason, because they want them to put something on the ball. These hitters will probably tell you, and I believe, wasn't it Pete Alonso that came out and said that, hey, I don't mind it. I don't want to take one in the bean. But when your spin rates and Garrett Cole becomes, Warren Spahn overnight, it's like, whoa, what happened?
I remember he was the third option for the Pirates, and then all of a sudden he's the best pitcher in baseball 2 years later with the Astros. I was like, what the hell happened?
He played for the trash can game, and all of a sudden, Justin Verlander's career revitalized. The spin rates, that's once again analytics. When you have the opportunity to see these kind of things that don't lie, it tells the real truth. So you see these spin rates going up, and you see all the mile per hour stuff going up. That there's something. All of a sudden, Garrett Cole just didn't grow his fingernail out, and it's just he's getting better grip. I think these pitchers should have a better grip. The thing with Tyler Glasnow, what he said about he didn't have something to put on the ball, so he was gripping it more tightly, and then he hurt himself. I mean, I've got him on my fantasy team, and I watch a lot of his games.
So on the sympathy meter yesterday, he would have been very sympathetic for
him. I'll tell you, and I'm no doctor here, and I'm also don't think I'm saying anything that's earth shattering. I don't know if we need a sounder here for breaking news, Kev, but these guys that have a lot of these Tommy Johns, it's the slider and it's the curveball. If these guys came out and threw high percentages of two-seam fastballs and changeups, like the Mario Sotos of the world that do the fastball changeup for most of their career.
Greg Maddux.
I bet you there's a way to quantify the percentage of the guys that throw these Tyler Glasnow throws a slider that's going 90-something and just moves. And you're going to drop a ligament. Like I think he's been hurt before when he was in the Pirates organization, or maybe he had just gotten to the Rays. Either way, it's the guys with that throw those breaking balls that are going to have a problem. So I don't know if I blame it totally on the lack of something tacky, but if you take that away, it's going to feel different, and you're naturally going to squeeze harder. And when you squeeze harder, your muscles tighten up around those ligaments.
Like we talked about,
So I think that having something on the ball is helpful. They let the batters get something on the bat to hold the bat better.
Right.
And they should probably say within reason, but now baseball's always going to push. I mean, Gaudier Molina had a ball stick to his chest protector a few years ago. I mean, crying out loud. You got to regulate it some way. And it's like anything else, where they're always going to find a new way to push the envelope, and nobody's got to catch up to it. And then usually it's an overcorrection, like what they're doing right now, saying you can't put anything on the ball, and they're checking these guys twice a game. They're going to have to come to a happy medium, but it might not be until after the season's over.
What's going to happen when an ump goes up to a pitcher and says, "Let me check you out"? Like dudes are going to be pumped up from how it is in the playoffs. Somebody gets a big time strikeout to close out the inning. He's all fired up and everything like that. And the ump says, "Yeah, let me check you out." That's not going to go well. That's not going to go well. Like we seen it with Trevor Bauer, like how pumped up he gets. You mean to tell me ump is going to walk up to a dude that fire up and say, "Hey, let me see your hands. Let me frisk you."
Can it be at any time? What's the rule? So can they approach him at, like, to your point, walking off the field? Hey, those pitches look kind of weird. I think
usually they do it before the next inning starts. And didn't they make somebody change a hat when a Cardinal player? They had Now, to me, whatever you can put on the bill of the cap, I don't know if that's going to exactly be Gorilla Glue, for crying out loud. But I think that they're already implementing something where there's a checks and balances where the umpire can approach them, and I don't know if they're going to do a full body frisk or anything like that.
TSA or something like that. But in what we talked about yesterday with this is, I don't mind baseball cracking down on this, but I don't think that a month and a half, or what are we in June? I guess we're 2.5 months into the season. I have a problem with 2.5 months into the season. You want to crack down on something like this, because to your point about, that's why I said about Glasnow, he's overcompensating in other areas, like holding the ball tighter, which, that you start throwing different. I just think that this should have been a change made in the off season. I think, I don't sympathize with the pitchers, because you're using stuff you shouldn't be using to begin with. But at the same time, I think it was wrong in baseball. Baseball is hurting their own product in the meantime. They should have cracked down on this in the off season. I find it very odd to do it 2.5 months into the season.
If it was something that was apparent enough in the off season, sometimes you don't know when these things kind of come to life. Maybe this was something that is the new fad that started this season that they didn't have enough information on. The other side of the coin, to your point, Kev, about frisking, with the camera angles and watching the pitchers as much as they do. I mean, these guys, scratch themselves, and you can see it on camera. They start doing something funny in their glove that gets caught on camera. Any little nuance is being seen by 5, 6, 7 different camera angles, to the point where that's like, hey, we need you to check so and so. We've got cameras that are showing he's got, Bardol on his chest or something, whatever. So I think that a lot of the policing is going to be done with all the camera angles that you're getting too.
Do you think anybody gets busted this first week?
I think it's going to take a little while till guys are like, wow, I'm really not the same pitcher. Now, Garrett Cole, if I'm not mistaken, had one of his worst outings the next start after those 4 minor leaguers got suspended, but then he kind of rebounded against the Twins and pitched well. So if guys start saying, hey, I'm going to be out of a job, I think that was one of the interesting things when the Mitchell report came out. We were always like, oh, it's Sosa, it's McGuire. No, it was Jason Grimsley.
The fringe guy.
Yeah, it was like, because they're trying to stay in the bigs.
Difference between multi-million-dollar contracts and, here's a tryout here's a spring training invite.
Yeah.
Steroids is the difference between the $1 million guaranteed money and
being back in the bus league.
Brady Anderson, that year he hit 50 home runs.
Yeah. If there's a guy that's like, hey, if I don't throw some caution to the wind here and do something to make me better than I am, I might not be here. So it could take a guy realizing that that's the difference between him being here and being, eating Fighter Fest food at Raleigh.
And I would just laugh at too, because like when batters got caught with steroids, I don't recall them coming. I have lack of sympathy for the pitchers too, because they're being very vocal to the media. They're trying to draw sympathy. No one's feeling sorry for them. I'm like, you guys need to be quiet. Like, stop talking so much to the media about it. Like you talked about. I mean, there's so many pitchers going to the media right now trying to draw sympathy, and I'm like, I don't feel bad for you. Like, it's strange. Like, I don't remember so many hitters coming out and saying, oh man, now that I can't use steroids, now I can't hit as well. Now the pitchers are like, now that I can't use this illegal sticky substances, now I can't pitch as well. It's a very strange approach.
And we're not even into the dog days of summer. Wait till you get a humidity through the roof in St. Louis, and it's 95 degrees in an afternoon game, and people are just sweating like they're sitting in a sauna. And they're like, balls are getting loose and guys are getting hit. And sometimes with the media looks at it from the media's perspective, and this comes from somebody who was in the media for 20 years. Sometimes the media sees it from a media perspective, like you and I are doing, and we don't know because we're not in there. And I think a lot of us would be really surprised at how many hitters are okay with them putting something on the ball, as long as it's not making them into somebody that they're completely not. I think a lot of hitters would like to know that you've got a whole lot of control over that ball that's coming right by me and making a lot of noise while it's doing it. I think we would be shocked if they did a blind poll with hitters. How many of you would like to have something reasonable on the ball, nor something even more than rosin on the ball? I think most people will be like, I'm fine with it as long as they are still humans throwing the ball, which Garrett Cole, I don't know what he became. I remember Paul LaDuca during the steroid era saying that Greg Gagne, or Gagne, I think is how they pronounce his name. Gagne, he's Eric Gagne. Greg Gagne for the Twins. Eric Gagne would throw so hard because he was on, he was juiced up. He said, I felt with the spin rate as high as it was, I felt like it was going to saw through my glove. When it hit my glove, he goes, I thought it was going to come out the back of my glove. It was spinning that fast. Now, that's a different kind of thing. That's, a guy that's on some kind of performance-enhancing body, not something tacky on there. But nonetheless, I think that hitters, we'd be surprised at how many would be okay with something a little bit stickier than rosin to help them have control of the ball.
All right, we'll step away for a few moments. On the other side, we'll take a look at the Reds lineup for tonight, as well as the pitching matchups, and we'll see if the Reds can get back in the W category. Reds-Padres Game 2 coming up later on here tonight on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 Wing AM. Also, top of the hour, we'll get to our over-under. Kev Nash brings you over-under, and we'll get to our sympathy meter, and we're going to be hanging out with Mark Neal for a little bit longer. How long are you hanging out with us today? We got you till 5?
I'm here till 5. Yeah, I got so I'm here for another hour and 15.
Hour 15. So we'll step away. We're going to continue hanging out with Mark Neal today. It's about 5 o'clock, so make sure you continue to hang out with us here on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Just like your favorite hometown baseball team, your Enterprise Roofing team is all about protecting home. We've been locally owned and operated since 1926. So, for high-quality roofing repair and replacement services you can count on down the stretch, call 937-240-2206 or visit roofup.com today. Enterprise Roofing is a proud supporter of the Cincinnati Reds.
I'm so tired of this car.
I've been telling you we need a new one.
I know, but we really don't have it in our budget.
Well, I heard about this great place called Drive One Car and Truck in Springfield. They say they have dependable vehicles to fit everyone's budget. I'm looking online now on their website, and they have a huge selection of late model, clean, great-looking vehicles. I'm going to call them, and then we can go check them out.
Upper Valley Pike and East National Road in Springfield, 505-3653. Online at driveonecarandtruck.com.
Let's go.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps' new summer menu is the perfect pairing to the Big on Tap beer selection. Try your favorite craft beer with a bacon cheddar cheese steak or a new Milano's Pizza choice. See the summer menu now at milanosubs.com.
Sheila, we need to set up Johnson's quarterly review.
Janowski Investments keeps portfolios profitable, but a double client base calls for double the advisors.
Hello. Hi, Janet. I'm so sorry. Pulling up your portfolio right now. Give me a sec.
Indeed can help them hire the people they need.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Because it's my vision, I take the most studied eye vitamin brand.
Because it's my vision, I take the eye vitamin brand backed by 20 years of research.
Because it's my vision, I take PreserVision.
Age-related macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss in adults over 60. That's why the National Eye Institute did 20 years of clinical studies on the formula that's found in PreserVision. From the eye experts at Bausch & Lomb, PreserVision AREDS 2 formula eye vitamins contain the exact nutrient formula recommended by the National Eye Institute to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression.
Because it's my vision, I made a plan with my doctor that includes PreserVision. Find PreserVision in the vitamin aisle. Available at Walmart.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
It's time for some straight talk. Sure, saving money feels good, but cutting your wireless bill in half? That feels really good. Like walk-off home run in the 9th inning kind of good. Okay, maybe not that good, but pretty darn good. With Straight Talk, you can get 25 gigs of high-speed data for $45 a month, up to 50% less than the other guys. Plus, no contract. All on America's best networks. Why pay a whole lot when you could pay half? Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks, and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game, and now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven.
You know, a few days ago while hanging out with my family, I noticed my father staring blankly at me. Something's not right, I thought. Is he having a stroke? Then I remembered to act fast, F-A-S-T, and did this quick test. F, face. I asked my father to smile. One side of his face drooped. A, arm. I asked him to lift both arms, no problem there. S, speech. I asked him to repeat a phrase. His speaking was slurred. T, time. I called 911 for immediate help. This way, he began receiving life-saving treatment in the ambulance. My father was out of the hospital in a few days, all because he made it to the hospital within an hour of his stroke. Practice recognizing the signs of a stroke so that you can act F-A-S-T, fast, to save a loved one.
This message is brought to you by the Ohio Department of Health's Coverdell Stroke Program.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
At Panera, dinner is hot and ready to serve. Bring home Panera's cheesy flatbread pizzas, toasty sandwiches, or creamy mac and cheese with delivery or pickup. Availability and pricing may vary.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Reds and Padres. Reds and Padres coming up later on tonight. 10:10 will be your first pitch. We'll have a 9:40 pregame. How about Tommy Thrall? Mark, I don't know how much you get to listen to Reds baseball. I'm telling you what, Tommy Thrall, it's tough to replace Marty Brennaman. And anytime I talk to Tommy, Tommy's like, stop saying I'm replacing Marty Brennaman. He goes, no one's replacing Marty Brennaman. He goes, but someone has to step into the plate following Marty Brennaman. I think he's kicking ass. I love Tommy Thrall, and I absolutely love the fact that they kept the Cowboy with them as well, because there's just that sense of familiarity. I think it was kind of like when Nuxall left too. Marty was that familiar voice when Nuxall was gone. So I love listening to the Reds on radio. Yes, I'm doing that to sell Reds on radio here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. But I think Tommy's awesome. He came from Pensacola. In fact, I don't know if you know the story. He said he lost his job with the Pensacola Wahoos because at that time Pensacola was no longer a Reds affiliate. And he goes, so they went in a completely different direction. And he had done that for a long time. And said he was really down in the dumps. And then out of nowhere gets a call, from the Cincinnati Reds. And he said he went from the lowest moment of his life to the highest moment of his life. And he said to work with Marty and the Cowboy. And he said he remembers that first spring training being down there with them. It was just unbelievable. But how many Reds games you get to watch or / listen to?
Lots of them.
Because you're lucky to live out of Market. I can't watch any of the dang games.
I have YouTube TV, so if I lived here, I would have troubles watching them. I have MLB TV, so I can actually speak to this pretty well because I like to not only listen to a lot of the radio calls because I just love radio. I always will. I watch a lot of Reds, so I've heard Tommy Thrall, but I've also heard a lot when he says I'm not replacing Marty Brennaman. Absolutely, he's not, because this new wave of broadcasters that are coming in to replace guys, for the most part, are very sanitized compared to what we used to get from Marty. I think that is not only a dying breed, that's becoming an extinct breed where guys are really going to be calling out the team on like overly, or a broadcaster having a beef specifically with a player like he did with Votto and Homer Bailey. I just don't see that. I think that is something that we may have grown up with Marty, but we're not. Tommy Thrall just isn't going to have that kind of relationship. I just don't see him even 30 years from now, if he's still with the Cincinnati Reds, just being, cracking Justin Kinner Jr. because he won't do an interview after a no-hitter. So we're not. I think when these guys like Marty go away, they're being replaced by guys that are just not going to be like him, for better or worse.
Yeah, and in not defending Marty, I think what made Marty, when people try to be Marty, that's the problem, because Marty was organic and Marty, like that was just who he was. So if a broadcaster comes in to try to be like Marty, it's not coming across as organic or genuine. So for one, that's strike 3 right off the bat to begin with. But yeah, if Marty was starting his career over, can go back in time, it's probably not working in today's game the way it is. And owners get more of I don't get how the owners went that long. Again, obviously the ownership of the Reds now is not the same as, was back in the day. I don't remember those Marge shot, years and everything like that, but she also had a pretty rough personality as well. So, it's a very interesting when you think about that. Like, I don't get how Marty got away with that for as long as he did. And it definitely was a bumpy ride over the last couple years.
Justin, if you hadn't noticed, in society recently, we are not putting up with a lot of things we put up with for a long time, mostly for the good. And I don't know that ownership wants to have a cantankerous broadcaster breaking off his team to an extent. I think fans want to hear that sometimes from a guy like Marty Brennaman. But I think most of the time you're going to get when those guys retire, whoever's even really left that's like that, maybe a Michael Kay or a Charlie Steiner, guys with that kind of autonomy, where they're going to be replaced by guys like a Tommy Thrall, who's just there to nuts and bolts you to death on baseball, call the game, do a heck of a job at it, but not bring that extra flair to the game, whether you liked it or not.
All right, so we do not have the Reds lineup for tonight as of right now, but we do know that Tony Santillan will be on the mound for your Cincinnati Reds here coming up later on this evening. Again, 10:10 will be the first pitch, 9:40 will be the pregame, and that's all going to be coming up later on tonight right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 Wing AM. But we do know, Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, and how about Tyler Naquin? Again, I will say this about the Reds, they need to get a whole roster put together that is capable. But, Mark, every year they always just seem to pick up a scrap heap guy right before spring training. And Tyler Naquin seems, and he's not even a scrap heap guy. He was did the Indians cut him just because they were trying to get cut payroll? But Tyler Naquin was a great addition to right before spring training.
Scooter Gennett was probably about ready to start selling insurance.
The shortstop Iglesias was another one like that too.
I mean, Dan Straley, and then they end up spinning him off.
He was part of the Luis Castillo deal.
Same thing with Alfredo Simon. They
got him back,
and they traded him for Suarez. So the Reds do a really good job. Maybe we see it more because this is the team we follow more. Maybe other teams have this success too, but the Reds certainly do a really good job of that, I guess, secondary scouting of trying to say, whatever you have left, we want to get out of you, whatever that is. And then they find a way to get it. But then, when I was doing this show for all those years, the year Shin-Soo Choo had a crazy year for the Reds, people were calling up and saying, Mark, they need to give him a blank check, and these are the same Reds fans that 2 years later going, how dumb are the Cincinnati Reds for signing Shin-Soo Choo? God bless Reds fans, and they're probably like every other 29 other teams in the league. They fall in love with these guys, and then they fall out of love with them just as fast. But the Reds have a great way of finding guys and realizing, let's get what we can out of you. We can fall in like with you. We don't need to fall in love with Dan Straley. We can spin him off for a Luis Castillo or a guy like that. So they bring a guy in, they buff him up a little bit, and then they send him out for a much better return than they put into him for sure.
All right, we'll step away for a few moments. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming up next. Kev Nash brings us over under. Plus, we'll get to our sympathy meter. That's all coming up. Is Mark Neal, former longtime sports radio host, hanging out with us here today. A longtime sports radio host of Dayton Sports Scene right here on 1410 Wing AM. I always appreciated when you left because it gave me an opportunity to crack open.
Well, and I'll tell you, Justin, first of all, you worked and you were great. You worked for me and did a great job, and you deserved this opportunity, and you've done great with it. And you've somehow got Kev to do more work. For those of you out there, I've done Kevin. Good God. 20 years. We worked together here forever, and you and I have been to every bar in Dayton together.
Facts.
Every hole in the wall to every chain bar. He and I have been everywhere together. Buckeye pregame.
You guys sound like a bunch of alcoholics. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I never had a drink. I haven't had a beer with the man. We've been to every place together, so it's really cool to be back here. And what we started here, what I wanted to start here, and with Dayton Sports Scene was every day, weekday sports talk that the city had never really seen on a long-term, consistent basis. Other stations had some folks that did it, and they don't do it now that I know of. You're the only one again, like I was for a very, very long time. And the fact that you kept it going was something that I wanted to start in this city. That means more to me than me getting to do it, to see that this town, a great sports town, gets to still have everyday weekday sports talk. I'm just glad you were able to pick that ball up and run with it, and you've done a lot of your own stuff with that ball.
Yeah, and for that, it's a great sports city to do a show in. Can you please tell Bengals fans that you are allowed to talk Browns? Didn't you talk a lot of Browns?
I did.
I told you guys.
I felt more comfortable talking Browns because I'm more of a Browns fan than a Bengals fan. And the Bengal fans would eat me alive because I didn't follow the Bengals like they did. I could talk Browns with just about any Browns fan, but the Bengal fans, they didn't want to hear it from me. And that's fine. I probably didn't want to hear it from them. I have become the Dikembe Mutombo of Twitter. I block anybody I can. What's that movie where they say we'll shoot you and the guy behind you? I block you on Twitter and the next guy that I hear. It's just I tried to lighten the load a little bit with that. I think there's room for discussion, but social media has gotten away from that so much. It's not discussion. Everything's an argument. I don't need that in my life.
I thrive off of it. So,
I know you do. You're much better at that than I am.
That's why when I used to do Sunday mornings, I was always hoping, I hope Neal's not listening this morning, because I probably went somewhere he probably wouldn't have gone with that. So I just want to, but is this more Bengals fans or Browns fans in this city?
I think by default Bengal fans, but
damn it.
But there's tons of Browns fans. I think there's no question. But this is a strange. See, I'm a Browns fan and a Reds fan. You don't see that much in other states. I'm sure there aren't many Royals fans that are also. Well, they don't have a team anymore. That's a bad example. But when you cross cities that are 3+ hours apart, I don't think that this state's kind of different. I was raised in a Browns house. My dad was a Browns fan because there were no Bengals back then. But there's probably more Bengals fans here than Browns fans. But it's not as great, I don't think, as you'd think.
Yeah, well, the Browns are still better. All right, we'll be back in a moment. Hour 2 coming up next. Shut up, Kev.
Every day.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Hey, my name is Jonelle, and a little thing that I love about Chick-fil-A's new Lemon Kale Caesar salad is every tender, warm, juicy piece of grilled chicken. It's a Caesar salad, but it's different. You have the Parmesan breadcrumbs and the mixture of lemon with that romaine and kale. It's almost something I can't explain, but it'll make you want to sing. Lemon Kale Caesar.
Order the new Lemon Kale Caesar salad on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
This year, make Dad's day with gifts from the Home Depot. Get low prices on power tools from top-rated brands like Milwaukee, DeWalt, and Ryobi, so Dad can tackle his projects like a pro. Plus, get more time with Dad thanks to free delivery when you order online. Save on top-rated tool brands and get free delivery. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. See store for details. Restrictions apply.
When the doctor told us about my mom's cancer, it made me feel so helpless. Until I called the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and spoke with Grace, who answered all of my questions about the disease, treatment options, and cancer-related expenses. Her support and compassion made us feel whole again. Today, I'm calling Grace to let her know my mom is beating cancer. To learn more, visit lls.org.
I'm giving Jeb's Basement Renovations 1 star. He kept asking me what's behind the walls down there. I'm like, why? What do you know?
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
And then he's like, you can trust me with the job. And I'm all like, trust?
And while Progressive can save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
Yeah, he charged me less than he said he would, which is lying.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Who doesn't want instant gratification? If you're looking for satisfaction, there's no need to wait. With a Credit Karma Money Spend account, you can win cash reimbursements for debit purchases. And when you make a purchase between June 8th and June 30th, you'll be automatically entered to win $1 million. Visit creditkarma.com/winmoney. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Inc. Member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply.
Sheila, we need to set up Johnson's quarterly review.
Janowski Investments keeps portfolios profitable, but a double client base calls for double the advisors.
Hello. Hi, Janet. I'm so sorry. Pulling up your portfolio right now. Give me a sec.
Indeed can help them hire the people they need.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Right now at Wendy's, with the Biggie Bag, you get a bacon double stack, 4-piece crispy or spicy nuggets, fries, and a drink, all for just $5. That's a bag with real value. Price and participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's.
We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Hour 2. We are off and rolling here on a Friday. I hope everyone has some big plans for the coming up weekend, Father's Day weekend at that. And coming up around the corner, I am curious, what is the first sporting event you remember going to with your dad? That'll be our Father's Day little angle that we'll touch on here coming up around the corner. We are live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. Listen, stream, and watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. You can listen live at 1410 Wing AM. You can stream us live at wingam.com. And, of course, now you can watch us live on Facebook and YouTube. YouTube ESPN Dayton, search that, subscribe to that. We always appreciate that. And then, of course, you can like and subscribe to the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. And that's where we do a lot of our interaction with everybody. We always appreciate everyone who tunes in. And again, there's so many different ways you could tune in, whether it's your Google smart devices or your Alexa, everything else like that. So take advantage of the many different ways you could take in not just our show, but the entire station here on 1410 Wing AM. All right, Kev, let's kind of get you loosened up out of the bullpen a little bit. You loose?
I'm ready.
You got the sticky substances ready to go? I don't have to check it.
I got
right?
the spider tack. I got it all, baby.
All right, let's hit the ground running. Kev Nash brings us over under.
Kev Nash brings you over under.
All right, Kev, hit the ground running. First up on our over-under. And again, here's how this will work. Again, we also have Mark Neal hanging out with us here today, longtime sports radio host here on 1410 Wing AM, former sports radio host of Dayton Sports Scene. And again, when he left, it was handed off to me. And here we are, big old little reunion going on here today on a Friday. So over-under, Kev Nash, he'll throw it out. I'll give my answer. You'll give your answer, Mark. Okay. And Kev will close it out with him. So, Kev, what is up first here on your over-under?
All right, man. It's Major League Baseball. The Cincinnati Reds 6-game winning streak came to an end last night, falling to the San Diego Padres 6-4. So over under 2 more wins for the Reds in the remaining 3-game series with the Padres.
Well, again, I've been off every time you do one of these over unders when it comes to the Cincinnati Reds. It's interesting because I get it wrong every single time. And I made the mistake yesterday of saying that they would win and then they lost. I need to do the reverse psychology here and just do what I know is best for the fan base and for the organization and say that they're going to lose so that they can win. But I think right now you said over under 2 more wins for the Reds in the remaining 3 games. I still think that they split. I'm gonna do the push here. So I guess I'm gonna take it'll be a push. They're gonna get 2 more wins. I think that they split this series at 2 apiece, which I think a lot of Reds fans would be very happy with heading into this series, and especially after that heartbreaking loss last night. The only I never want to say good thing about a loss, but the only thing about last night's loss is that the reason that the Reds have been winning is because their starting pitching's been going deeper into ball games. Their bullpen's been helping them out, and they've been getting some run support. That continued last night. Obviously, the bullpen did not, and that's why yesterday, Kev, when someone said, "Hey, Kinner, are you going to apologize?" Actually, McCoy is how McCoy's son. He asked me, he goes, "Are you wrong about David Bell?" I said, "No." I go, "They're having a hot streak right now, but their deficiencies are still going to be there. They're still going to haunt them from time to time, and that happened last night. It could happen tonight, but I think they split. I think that it's going to be a 2-2 series win for the Reds. So I'll take a push on this.
I hate to just reiterate what you said, but I feel the same way. This series screams push. Split 2-2. They probably come back and win. The Reds used to struggle a lot on Sunday games. I don't know if they'll winning Sunday, maybe not. But I can see them coming back and winning tonight after that letdown. So yeah, I'm with you. Kind of push. If this was 1.5, I'd probably go the over. But at 2, I'm going to go with the push.
Yeah, and they also struggle on the West Coast as well. I mean, we see a lot of those demons for the Reds on the West Coast. It usually doesn't go well. I don't think that's what that was last night. That was the type of loss that they'll suffer at Great American Ballpark. It'll be at St. Louis, Milwaukee. It doesn't matter. That bullpen's just that. That's the thing that they need to address come the trade deadline. But push for both of us, Kev.
I'm going to go with the under. The Reds have been a 500 team. That's who they are. So they went on that big 6-game winning streak. Thumbs up. That's great for the Reds. But now it's time to come back to reality a little bit. And I think they're going to only take one of these games versus the Padres.
All right, next up, Kev, we're heading to the NBA. Kev Nash brings us over under number 2.
NBA. You know I love it. You love it. We all love it. Tonight is a do-or-die game for the Philadelphia 76ers versus the Hawks. Philly has blown fourth-quarter leads in the last 2 games, double-digit leads at that, giving Trae Young and the Hawks a 3-2 lead in this series. So over or under this series going one more game.
Over under the series going. Well, I'm going to take the over. I think this has game 7. There's game 7 potential all over the NBA playoffs right now. We still have to get. We're not even getting to the finals yet. We're getting to the Eastern and Western Conference finals right now. Look, Philly, they're so up and down. You can't get a good feel for who they are. But right now, I'm going to give Philly this next game to tie it up and to force the game 7. I have no clue how the Hawks are even at this point. It's Trae Young and just a good solid roster. But
Lemon Pepper Lou.
Lou Williams. How about that?
Lou.
Going up against his old coach Doc Rivers too. On top of that, I'm going to take the over. I just think this has 7 games written all over it. I don't think Philly's going to go down like that. I think that a 7-game losing in the 7th game, I think, is a little bit more forgivable than losing to Atlanta, who they should have beat to begin with. Trae Young's been that breakout star who didn't just have a big series. He might wrap this up and have back-to-back big series with the chance to get to the finals around the corner. I'm going to take the over, force a game 7.
Kev, is going to a strip club because you like the wings, is that the modern-day version of reading the articles in Playboy?
Let's get it. Absolutely.
I love that analogy, by the way. I'm a little pissed I didn't come up with that myself. I really like that.
COVID protocol. Oh my gosh, to get wings at a strip club. If I'm hearing,
how come you laugh when he says it, but when I say stuff like that, you always, you can't say that.
Delivery, Justin. It's
I'm gonna
delivery.
I'm gonna add you and Kenner to the list of people I'm taking to the ATL.
There we go.
We're going. Magic City.
I'll take my wings to go. I'll be
on lane. We're going on. We're going in.
Anyway,
bring your one.
I'll tell you, that Philly game the other night, I don't watch as much NBA as I used to. I've had to prune the sports tree, and some of it's basketball, sadly. But nevertheless, that game where Ben Simmons didn't even score. I mean, they
didn't even attempt a shot in the fourth quarter.
Embiid and Curry were the only people that even scored in the entire second half. I mean, that's just like unbelievable. And Trae Young, sometimes people are perfect for their time. Trae Young is perfect for this time in basketball where it's like you control the ball, you either shoot it or pass it. It's like the Russell Westbrook type thing. The ball movement is way different now than it used to be, and it doesn't, whatever. It doesn't matter what they used to do, what they do now, whatever works really. But Trae Young, or having somebody like that to control the ball, whether he shoots it or passes it, it doesn't matter to me. I think he's a heck of a player, and he makes that team better just because he's so perfect for his time. But the Sixers, I just, trust the process. The process didn't quite work out as they expected. It's very tough to do what they did. And they ended up getting, Nerlens Noel and Jahlil Okafor. They kept drafting the same player over and over again because
Jabari Parker.
He went to the Bucks or something. Anyway, you draft based on, this is the guy that has to go in this pick, and you can't deviate too much from that because of value. So the process didn't work out real well. Simmons has got some wicked holes in his game still. Embiid just can't stay healthy, and I think that is a product of everybody just being bigger and taller now, bigger feet. People hurting their feet now.
Yep.
It's the Bill Walton thing. Bigger guys running up and down a basketball floor. It's tough to stay healthy, and we're all bigger now. Everybody in the NBA is taller for the most part. I don't know. Once again, around my elbow to my wrist. I haven't been on air in a while, so I'm gumming it up here. I think that the Hawks wrap them up. I think Philly's just right now doesn't know what to think. So I say under.
I'm going under as well. I got Atlanta Hawks in a blowout tonight. You don't recover from a game like Philadelphia just had the other night. I mean, they were up. I go to brush my teeth. I come back. They're losing. I say to the wife, what the bleep happened? Is like turnovers and wide open shots. Lou Williams is on fire. I was like, well, he was on fire, but they were still up 8 points. I just went to brush my teeth. I've been gone for 2 minutes. How are they down a point? It's unbelievable. This is the type of thing that gets guys traded. This type of thing that gets GMs fired. And this gets coaches fired. Like this thing right here, they lose this series. Ben Simmons is out of there. And I'm a Ben Simmons guy. You and I, we've been defending Ben Simmons all season long. Oh, you don't need to shoot jump shots. Well, if you're not going to shoot jump shots, you need to be able to make more than 30% of your free throws. I mean, that's Ben Wallace territory.
Worse, technically.
That is horrendous.
Ben Simmons needs to be the drive, draw, distribute type guy. He needs to go to the bucket. He needs open lanes, and he needs shooters. So they need. I don't know who that team is. It's very tough to do trades in the NBA for superstars because you got to give up so much to do it. But yeah, Philly. I don't know if this thing's going to work because Ben Simmons is just like talk about guys perfect for their time. Ben Simmons is like should have been playing in the 60s.
Yeah.
He'd have been awfully good in the 60s. But in today's world where you can't shoot I don't even want to try shoot from outside. Doug Gottlieb was saying the other day that Ben Simmons does everything right-handed except shoot.
Yep. I remember that coming into the draft. They were talking about switching him to be a righty, and he said, no, I'm a lefty.
But he throws righty and he writes righty, and the only thing he does athletically is shoot from the outside right-handed.
It is very, very weird. I mean, LeBron James, he's left-handed in quote-unquote real life, but when you grow up and everything like that, you go to sports, most people are right-handed, so he learned how to shoot right-handed. It rarely happens vice versa. You rarely are right-handed. Like, now we're about to make you a lefty, like Todd Marinovich. Like, his old man made him a left-handed quarterback for USC and everything like that. It is the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Ben Simmons dude, but they blow this series, it might be Rapsville for him.
Yeah, and the other thing, I mean, look, no one will say Lonzo Ball is a better point guard than Ben Simmons, but because Lonzo can shoot, I think he might be a better point guard than Ben Simmons.
And the fact that you said Lonzo can shoot, that shot 3 years ago was like broke. I mean, that was like Kev at the park.
Never.
Broke. And now it's like he can make shots. He can. We know he can distribute the basketball, and he's tall. Lonzo Ball, 3 years ago compared to Ben Simmons, I'm like, give me a break. Now it's not as give me a break as it once was.
Absolutely.
All right, next up.
All right, more NBA, man. No Kawhi, no problem. Paul George stepped up big time, scoring 37 points, grabbing 17 rebounds. Utah Jazz point guard and our favorite, Mike Conley, and Donovan Mitchell, both questionable for tonight's game 6. So over or under this series going one more game. And by the way, the Clippers are up 3-2.
I'm going to say, look, this is going to go one more. I think it's done after this coming up game because I know the Clippers don't have Kawhi Leonard, but they're still the better team because as we've seen with the Nets, just because James Harden comes back,
Clippers are up.
Clippers are up. Sorry. So, but the point is when you look at just because you're getting star players back, it doesn't mean you're getting them back. It's win or go home mode right now. So just because guys are coming, like in the regular season, if guys are coming back, they're not coming back too early. They don't even want to come back a second before they're capable of doing it.
Yeah,
but in the playoffs, you have no choice but to come back because you have to give it an effort so that you have, hopefully can remain alive in the series. So, and like I said, James Harden, he's come back and he hasn't had an impact on the series at all. He has not been himself at all. And he's been playing 40 minutes a game. So just because they're getting Mike Conley potentially back and same thing with Donovan Mitchell, you're not really getting them back. That's my concern. So I say that the Clippers end this. I'm going to say the Clippers take care of this and they advance to the Western Conference Finals without Kawhi Leonard. They may not even have him at all for the rest of the series. Have they come out actually and officially said?
Nothing yet. Nothing on Kawhi yet. Still up in the air about Chris Paul and his COVID situation. So you could be looking at a Western Conference Finals without the two biggest stars.
Luke Kennard might get his NBA championship. How about that?
Of the teams remaining, who's won a title most recently? I mean,
it's been 30 years. It's all of these teings have not won a title in at least 30 years. Some of them haven't won it at all.
Yeah.
I guess it would be Philly, right? With
the Fofo Sixers?
I think so. It will have to be, right?
83 is the most recent of the teams left. My gosh, that tells you a lot right there. I think that this series goes 7. I think the Clippers kind of rallied around the family for this one. Paul George played real well, even though he's been really inconsistent in the playoffs. And I think for him, he is a wonderful number 2. But when number 1 is what he's got to be, if the wins and losses really matter, him being a number 1 is not his bag. If he's on a team that's okay and he can just get he's a fine number 1. He stepped up and played real well. I don't know if he can do that again. And for them to win, he's got to. So I'm saying, I guess that would make it over. Right?
Yeah.
I'm reading that correctly. I think this series goes 7.
Okay, I'm going to go with the under. I got the Clippers closing this bad boy out tonight with Conley attempting to come back with a bad hamstring. Donovan Mitchell with the high ankle sprain. He's already out there hobbled as it is. I mean, we talked about it in game 1 when he dropped to 45 points. That was great, but they needed all 45 from him. And then the very next game, first quarter, somebody rolls up on his ankle, and he hasn't been the same since. He scored 37 in that second game, but it was on a ton of shots. In that first game, he was like 15 for 20. That's the efficiency. That's the efficiency you want out of Donovan Mitchell. He hasn't been that since the ankle. So I got the Clippers big tonight. I got 2 blowouts tonight, man. I say get your beer and get your popcorn early because these games are going to be over before halftime.
Okay. All right. Next up, we head to the NFL/Ohio State a little bit.
Absolutely. Ohio State, well, former Ohio State quarterback and current Chicago Bears quarterback, Justin Fields, says he's buying into the Bears' plan for Andy Dalton to be the starting quarterback. With that said, over or under, Justin Fields starting 12 and a half games for the Chicago Bears this upcoming season.
Not accounting for injury, of course. I'm throwing that possibility out the window just for the sake of, whether or not, with them saying that Andy Dalton's their guy. I think this was the right answer to say Andy Dalton's the guy, because you have to kind of let it play out, because it's a lot of pressure. If you name Justin Fields the starter before they even enter training camp, that's a lot of pressure on a rookie who right now, everyone assumes it's going to be Andy Dalton, or it would make sense if it's Andy Dalton. So I'm going to say over. I think that Justin Fields will be the week 1 starter on top of it. I think he'll be, because right now it does him no good to say he's going to be our starter when you haven't even really, it's not like Trevor Lawrence, who was drafted to the Jaguars to be the guy. Chicago, no, Bears fans didn't even think at all that they were actually going to trade up to get him to begin with. So I think that everything will fix itself. It'll fall right into place. I think Justin Fields is the week 1 starter. I think that, the storyline will be, well, we wanted Andy Dalton, but Justin Fields was so impressive, in training camp and throughout the preseason that he has to be our starter, and let the play dictate that. I think this was smart of the Bears to say this. I know some people are upset. Justin Fields has the 3rd, 4th, and 5th most sold items right now for the NFL behind Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is 1 and 2 on the items sold list. He's 3, 4, and 5. So he's super popular. That's going to go a long way in that, as well. But I think you have to play and popularity go hand in hand, which is coincidentally enough the theme of Tim Tebow. The play did not match the popularity, which has led to this whole mess in with Jacksonville. But no, I think that he's the week 1 starter. I just think right now they're tiptoeing around it. I think they're regretting signing Andy Dalton, because you could tell that front office didn't have a plan heading into this draft to do this. This was kind of like hey, what the hell? He's right there. We might as well.
I mean, and Justin, you were done, right?
Yep.
I'm saying under and well under, because I just think that this is one of the rare things in life where sitting and watching can be beneficial. Mahomes sat, I think he started 1 game his rookie year. Aaron Rodgers sat famously for 3 years. I think that there's something to be gained by sitting and watching a little bit, especially, and this may sound weird to people, but sometimes when you go to the NFL, it's the first time you've ever really lost. AJ Hawk goes from Centerville, where he won a ton of games, to Ohio State, where they won a ton of games and a national title, and then it's like the NFL, he probably lost more games in those first couple of years than he did in his life.
Yeah.
I think for everybody, Justin Fields is no different. He was at a really good high school program in Georgia, went to Georgia and then Ohio State. They didn't play. How many games has Justin Fields played where the roster he was on was equal to or less than the roster they were playing against? Very few. And I think getting used to seeing that speed of that game, which is the thing everybody brings up. Whoa, what's the difference between the NFL and college? Dude, everybody can run. Everybody's fast. Seeing that from the sidelines is an educational moment, a very teachable moment for a coach. And to have that young guy right there, you are the future, but we don't need to make the future right now. Let Andy go out there. You learn from him a little bit. We'll ease you in. And I think there's something to be learned from that. I'm not a sit and watch guy. The only way you get better doing radio, Justin, is to sit in front of that microphone. But this is one of those rare things in life, I think, where you can really take something from it. So I'm not only barring the injury. Of course, Dalton goes down, Fields is in. It's done. But I'm saying under and well under.
I'm going to go under, but not well under. I'm going like 10 games at least. I think it's going to be a situation where they're just teetering around a 500 team like they've constantly been for the last couple of years. And to save his job and to save the GM's job, they're going to put the young guy in so they can tell their bosses like, hey, man, we started the young guy, man. You got to give us some slack and try to save themselves. So Justin Fields is going to try to save their jobs just like Lamar Jackson save jobs with the Baltimore Ravens. I think that's the play here. I think that's what the Chicago Bears are ultimately going to end up doing. So I'm going to go under, but not well under. So I'm going to go about 10 games for Justin Fields to start for the Chicago Bears.
Plus, keep in mind, and I tell you this all the time, teams always like to talk. They like to talk the talk, right? Like, so the Browns did this with Baker Mayfield. They had Tyrod. In fact, it was a very similar situation. They had Tyrod Turley. Holy smokes.
Who's he?
Tyrod Taylor early in that offseason. They knew they were going to have the number 1 overall pick, which was an interesting free agent get for Tyrod Taylor. It was actually a good get for them at that time. And they were like, no, Tyrod Taylor's the starter. Hugh Jackson kept Baker away from every first string, snap.
He said he was the third stringer,
yeah. And he was trying to, but this always happens. All these teams always try to paint this picture of, we're going to be patient. We're going to be patient. But you're usually picking that high in the draft for a reason because you're not very good. The thing that might save the Bears is that they're just good enough to win some games to where they won't get uneasy. But I knew the Browns, that was going to be the case where they're not going to win unless you at least have to have something to feel good about. Teams, you said the microwave thing, teams just aren't patient. I don't think that the Bears traded up to get Justin Fields just to be patient, but they're going to talk patience. They're going to pretend to be about it. But at the very least, by week 3, he's the starter. But at the same time, I still think it's week 1. That's just my take on it. I just don't think teams always try to act like they're in control of the situation, but really owners and GMs get real uneasy when teams aren't playing well, and they'll just blame Andy Dalton, even though the O-line's not that great. They don't have a lot of weapons on offense. They'll blame Andy Dalton, and who knows what will happen at that point. But next up.
All right, number 5, Ohio State football. Ohio State backfield is loaded. Veteran Master Teague and incoming 5-star freshman Travion Henderson are lining up in that backfield this season for the Buckeyes. So over under 1.5 running backs for the Buckeyes going over 850 rushing yards this season.
I'm gonna say under. I think it'll be 1, but I think it's going to be Henderson. It's going to be just like when J.K. Dobbins came up. It was that Dobbins/Weber type deal. Like that's like the combo right there that I'm kind of looking at for it to be similar to. It's just a matter of fact. It's just a matter of whether Henderson's going to be the premier back. I think they're going to head into the season like the Buckeyes did with Weber that year, where Weber's our guy, and then J.K. Dobbins hit the scene and then he hit the ground running, and it was very obvious just based on his play, the separation of the two really good backs. I think that's what's going to happen here. Henderson was the premier back last year until late in the year, of course, and then obviously things changed. I'm going to say under, but I still think you're going to have 2 backs who have a lot of yards, but I just think that offense for Ryan Day, it's going to be all about airing it out, and it's really going to come down to the development of C.J. Stroud if he's the starting quarterback. If C.J. Stroud can do what Justin Fields did and just come throwing the ball over the field and not have to develop during games, I think it's going to be a lot of passing and not a lot of running. But if C.J. Stroud's kind of lacking development-wise and they're going to slow it down and have to run the ball more, that could be a different story. But I'll take the under right now, assuming that Stroud's going to be this aired out guy that all guys are under Ryan Day's offense.
I'm taking the under, and it's going to be 1, and it's going to be Henderson. I think he ends up taking that job from Teague. I think Teague's a nice player, but the versatility, I think Henderson's going to be more impressive catching the ball out of the backfield. And I really don't think, even though you look at the recruiting, Ohio State, man, can they bring in receivers? That what they're doing to receiver position,
Hartline's killing it.
Is it 3 or 4 straight years where they brought the number 1? They've got a commitment or have brought in the number 1 receiver in the country. It's ridiculous. And they got Olave and Wilson back this year. I mean, all things point to recruiting Warren Moon to run and Mouse Davis to run the run and shoot with this team. But I still think Ohio State knows that if we don't lose this game, we'll win as many games as we want. That Ryan Day is smart enough to know that. And what I mean by that is they're going to run the ball. They're breaking in a new quarterback, whether it's Stroud or Miller, whoever ends up being the guy that gets the consistent snaps as we go along. I think they're going to run a lot more than we think with that receiving core. You like what you said, Justin, makes total sense. Why not air it out all the time? I just think that Ohio State's like, that's how we can get beat. Airing it out, being frivolous,
interception,
being frivolous with the football, whereas we can control it. I think it'll be one guy that goes over 850, and it'll be Henderson. I think he'll end up getting the majority of those snaps and that touches over Teague.
I'm the only believer. Over. I'm double dipping. Both of them going over a G.
Didn't we get there a stretch where Ohio State didn't have 1,000-yard backs for the longest time, and then all of a sudden it just was boom, boom, boom?
Well, there's a lot more yards to hand out now because I don't see Stroud being the runner the Fields was.
Right. I got him going over for this reason only. You go back to JK's junior year. He ran for 2,000 yards. Master Teague was his backup. He ran for 800 yards. The backup got 800 yards. I think both backs go for over 1,000 yards this season. I think Ohio State's going to be pounding teams this year. Like you said, breaking in a young quarterback and everything like that. I see a lot of home run passes from the offense and the wide receivers making big splash plays. But last year when they were running like 5-yard hitches, just picking up first downs because you had a veteran quarterback and veteran receivers, they were on the same page. I think you're going to rely heavy on the run game, but then when those linebackers and those safeties start coming up for the run, you're going to be leaving those receivers one-on-one on the outside for them to make big plays. So the big plays will be there from the wide receivers, but the consistency is going to be from the running backs in that running game. So I got both backs going over 850. Matter of fact, both of them going over 1,000 yards.
I can see Garrett Wilson averaging 23, 24 yards a catch because of what you're saying. They're going to do that read option, and it's just like, whoop, he's behind everybody. Whoop, ball's in the air, But I think Ohio State's going to be like, if we don't lose this game based on what we do with the football, we're not going to get beat.
All right, coming up next, we go from over-under to the sympathy meter. We'll cover Ohio State football on that as well. Talk a little golf. We've got a lot of different directions to still go in. Plus, we'll have that Reds lineup coming up for you as soon as it comes out. So that's all coming up next. It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash. Special guest Mark Neal hanging out with us here in studio. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high near 90. Tonight's also going to be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a low near 68. And tomorrow will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high around 86. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces at your home, office, or commercial property. Introducing infrared patching, a new technology for your property. This service and more at culletsealcoating.com.
For the ones who get going when the going gets tough, and the ones who know we're tougher together. For the Pathfinders breaking new ground. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as fast access to experts and 24/7 customer support. Because we know you have people depending on you, so you can always depend on us. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
O'Reilly. Ready for an oil change? The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are here to help. We'll make sure you have all the supplies you need to make the job quick and easy. Right now, get 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for just $28.95. Plus, get a $10 gift card after mail-in rebate. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Tired of deciding what to cook tonight? Frickers is ready when you are with everyone's favorite ribs and frickin' chicken chunks. Tender baby back ribs and frickin' chicken chunks, only $12.99 dine-in only. Take the day off as kids 10 and under eat free every day. And you can relax and let Frickers take care of everything. Baby back ribs, frickin' chicken chunks, and kids eat free at the one place that makes lunch, dinner, or late night easy. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Baby back. Baby back.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Have you used Paraquat on your farm? Scientists have known for years that it's linked to Parkinson's and kidney failure. If you've been exposed and have Parkinson's or kidney failure, Paraquat Legal Resources might be able to help you. Call us at 844-752-6224 or visit paraquatlr.com. We will evaluate your claim for free. 844-752-6224. This ad was paid for by Jeff Link Law, PLLC at 321 East Walnut Street, Des Moines, Iowa.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
At Panera, dinner is hot and ready to serve. Bring home Panera's cheesy flatbread pizzas, toasty sandwiches, or creamy mac and cheese with delivery or pickup. Availability and pricing may vary.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council. Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill.
Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, and Mark Neal with us here in studio again. Heading to the cool guy. Are you ready to go?
I wear glasses sometimes. And I just saw when I put them on.
1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. There you go. All right. So Kev Nash brought us the over-under, and now we get to jump into the sympathy meter. And the sympathy meter, Mark, is, basically, I get accused of I just don't have sympathy for anybody. It's just one of those things where I'm like, I'm not anti-player, but I just feel like players are very whiny to me. They're just a little too whiny. So that's how this technically started, but nobody's safe when it comes to the sympathy meter. We cover everything and everything out there. So Kev Nash, hit the music. It's time for the sympathy meter here on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. So we are off and rolling. The first one up here on the sympathy meter, Kev and Mark, is this. Phil Mickelson's quest to complete the career Grand Slam was not aided Thursday by the numerous instances in which he was distracted by spectators who did not switch their cell phone cameras off during the first round of the U.S. Open. Mickelson was visibly and audibly irritated during one instance on the 13th hole, his fourth, in which he 3 times backed off a shot from just off the fairway to ask that a cell phone camera be switched off. Would go on to blame his struggles for the day on the on those in attendance and their cell phones. Look, I'm going to open with this one just because this one irritated me more than anything. If an NBA player could go to the free throw line and knock down a free throw in Game 7 of an NBA Finals to win an NBA championship with 30,000 people screaming, calling you every name in the book, if Trae Young could do what he did at the Garden with so much pressure with Spike Lee sitting in front of him, if pitchers in Game 7 of a World Series can throw a ball 100 mile per hour in a straight line right to a mitt, if a guy can kick a field goal, with the game on the line with 70,000 people and the Super Bowl on the line and the pressure's on. All of these professional athletes can kick ass under pressure. Everything is expected but golfers, and I love golf, by the way. It's a new thing in tennis. And golfers, I'm obsessed with golf now, Mark. It's something I've taken on over the last year and a half, 2 years. I love it. But I'm not one of them. Not the guys I golf with, but I know that there are guys out there. Oh, you walked in front of my line, or your shadow, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you went out a turn. Give me a break. I play ready golf. You ready? And you go and golf. But I don't want to hear this from Phil Mickelson. You're a professional golfer. You're one of the best of all time, and you're going to say that your struggles came from cell phone cameras. Really? I have on a sympathy scale meter of 0 to 10, it's -10. I have no sympathy for him in this situation. Again, we talk about all these high leverage pressure situations in sports all the time, and you want me to feel sorry for a professional golfer who can't golf because of a cell phone camera? I'm at -10, no sympathy. Mark, where are you on the sympathy meter of 1 through 10 for Phil Mickelson?
More in the middle ground, like 4, because you.
Mark, you have to agree with me. That's how the show works. If you don't agree with me, no, I'm just joking. So you said a 4.
It was golf and tennis. You are trained to be kind of under the assumption that things are going to be quiet and there's not going to be any noise. Now, if you were raised as a golfer, like saying that everybody's going to be screaming at you during the whole thing, then I wouldn't have as much. But when this is said to you, hey, it's going to be quiet while you're doing this, and that's the expectation, and it's not, I have a little bit of sympathy for you. I understand what you're saying. People, high school kids make big free throws when people are screaming at them. I get all that. The other thing, first of all, you watch like an overhead shot of a golfer. I mean, if a guy had too much garlic the night before, they could probably smell it. These guys are so close. The gallery is so close to these guys. When you see it from overhead, it's amazing. That to me, just the physical closeness of everybody would be enough of a distraction, let alone any noises. But I have some sympathy because it's supposed to be quiet, and it's not, and that's the expectation, and it's not met. So I'll say 4.
Yeah, keep in mind, my favorite golf movie of all time is Happy Gilmore. My favorite part is when he's ready to tee off, and again, and by the way, I can sympathize to the point to where golf is you're always quiet when someone goes to tee off. I mean, there's a hush amongst the crowd anytime someone's about to hit or whatever. So I get it. But my favorite scene in Happy Gilmore is when he's about to go and he goes, "Come on, make a little noise." He goes, "Too damn quiet around here." I love that type of golf. That doesn't exist except in the movies, but I'm just going to say it there. Kev, what about you? Sympathy meter scale of 1 to 10. Where are you at with Phil Mickelson saying he played poorly because of cell phone cameras?
I'm going to go at a 2.
He didn't mind the cell phone cameras in his face when he won a few weeks ago, did he? But all of a sudden now, all the cameras just too much. I'm sorry. Continue.
I'm going to go at a 2, and a 2 just because of what Mark said. The game, you're supposed to be quiet. The hush comes over the crowd. All those catchphrases that you hear on the Masters and everything like that. It's supposed to be like that. But, I never played golf. I played basketball and football. So the world that I live in, people are screaming at you at the playground. You know what I mean? So I would say get over it, dude. Like, come on, man. And also, like, all the cell phones and everything like that helps your sport. Like, fan interest helps your sport. Yes. Do you want them to be quiet? Of course you do. But are they really going to be quiet? No, this is a new day in golf. I know it's supposed to be kind of like hey, you were talking about with tennis, like a gentleman's game and all that type of stuff. Yeah, but there's a new crowd out here watching and playing golf. And these are part of the things that these golfers are going to have to deal with going forward. People want to take selfies. People want to get pictures. People want to take stuff for the gram and everything like that. Man up, man. Man up.
Do it for the gram.
Absolutely. And by the way, I will say, though, there's nothing worse than people who have their cell phones on loud at all times. So I guess I could sympathize a little there. Because there's nothing worse than when you're at the store or something and someone when they're texting and you can hear the click, 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 click. And I'm like, why? Why is that on? Or if they're talking out loud. So I can sympathize that. So is it, I don't know. I need to reread the article too, because was it the shutter sound? Because I could kind of see why that's a little bit of a problem too. Like, why would your phone be on loud? I don't mind guys taking pictures, but the shutter sound is probably what he's referring to. I guess that is kind of crappy if you're going to do that, I guess. But still, like I said, in professional sports where there's so many high leverage situations where guys are expected to have 40,000 plus people screaming at you, calling you names, and they get it done. But no, I definitely get it. That's just the nature of golf.
Justin, in case you hadn't noticed, a lot of people don't care about anything but themselves.
Oh, yeah.
This is also not a new thing, but they're very prevalent these days.
Absolutely. Up next on the sympathy meter, and again, something we lightly talked about a little bit ago on the over-under, Kevin Mark. The Chicago Bears coaching staff and front office have all made it clear that Andy Dalton will be their starting quarterback for Week 1, despite moving up in the first round to draft Buckeyes quarterback Justin Fields, a move that has shocked many, as Justin Fields has already proven to be a huge fan favorite in Chicago as well as across the NFL landscape, as he holds 3 spots in the top 5 sold merchandise since the draft, trailing only Tim Tebow. Again, a lot of people are shocked that the Bears are sticking to their guns a bit, something we lightly talked about already when it comes to naming Andy Dalton the starter already before even entering training camp. So I'm curious, using the sympathy meter on a scale of 1 to 10, how much sympathy do you have for Justin Fields in this situation? I might add, he's done a fantastic job, dealing with the media, saying that he has no problem with it, saying all of the right things. And the reason that's key is because a lot of quarterbacks don't say the right thing, and he is saying the right thing, being a good teammate, basically everything that we already knew about the kid.
Well, like I said before, 0, I think, would be the answer, because I think this is actually going to be good for him. I think it's good for a lot of these guys. The only hurry now is the simple fact of the rookie contract kind of in line with the salary cap. The best thing you can do is have a quarterback that's really good on a rookie contract, and you can put talent around him before you got to pay him and shed other players around him. So that's the only thing that needs to be expeditious, in my opinion, when it comes to getting a quarterback on the field. I think Justin Fields, not just Justin Fields, I think a lot of guys, Trevor Lawrence, Luke Wilson, or what's Wilson's first name?
Russell Wilson.
No, the Jets.
Oh, Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Luke Wilson. Zach Wilson.
The actor.
Yeah. I think all those guys could learn from watching a little.
Wedding Crashers 2 is coming out, by the way. Speaking, my ADD took off from there, but yes. So
I got no sympathy. I think it's going to be good for Justin.
0. He has to prove himself. You know where I'm at with it, man. I'm not a guy that says, like, all right, man, you get drafted, you get the keys to the car. You got to go in there and earn it. We saw this with Tua last year. Everybody expected Tua to take over for the Dolphins and everything like that. Well, Fitzmagic had a lot to say about that. Fitzmagic didn't give it to him right away. And then when the organization decided to give it to Tua, they had to call on Fitzmagic to win games, like a closer in baseball and everything like that. Fields, I like what you're saying. You're saying all the right things, but we all know deep down inside he wants to be the starting quarterback. You know how you go out there and be the starting quarterback? You outplay Andy Dalton in training camp and give him no option, just like Russell Wilson did when they signed old boy from the Green Bay Packers, who was their backup, and said, oh, he's going to be our starting quarterback. Well, Russell Wilson went to minicamp, outplayed him, took the starting spot. So Justin Fields, you can take the starting spot. All you got to do is outplay him.
Sorry, Matt Flynn. I'm taking that job.
There you go. Good job.
I was literally just about to say, God, who was that quarterback too? And there we go. For me, I'm at a 4, and here's why. It's not necessarily I feel bad for him because he hasn't been named the starter. What I feel bad for him on is the fact that this dude he can't be celebrated ever. I always like to say, look, I don't really have any Buckeye homeristic takes too much. I have the closest to the homeristic takes I've had have really been about Justin Fields when it comes to Ohio State. I think that the dude has just been criticized and held to a standard that no other quarterback in this draft has been held to. I mean, yes, he struggled. Let me ask you guys this. If Justin Fields didn't struggle against Northwestern and didn't struggle against Indiana this past year, are those 2 games and 2 games alone why he's not named the starter for the Bears right now? Actually, if he plays well against those teams, he's probably picked well before the Bears even have a chance to take him. But the reason I have a 4 meter ranking for him on the sympathy meter is mainly because the dude he never got to enjoy the draft process. All he got to hear about is his work ethic and he can't throw the deep ball, or he's not very accurate. He doesn't know the playbook, and all things that were not true. But he had to sit there and be mentally destroyed for months and months until actually, having a team draft up to get him. And then just when you think, oh, good, a team traded up, they see the value in him, and they're like, no, we want Andy Dalton over you. So I can sympathize with that a little bit, but the storyline will be so damn cool when he does get that starting job, whether it's in week 1, like I predicted, or let's say week 8, or maybe even year 2, when he does get that redemption opportunity. I think it's going to make this story even that much better. And he might be the first Buckeye quarterback to not just play in the NFL, obviously, but to make it and to become a big star in the NFL. So that's what I feel bad for him on, is that it's just that the dude can't catch a break every time. It's always just being pushed aside a little.
By your definition, Trevor Lawrence is catching a break by playing. I guarantee you, there's gonna be time early on where Trevor Lawrence is like, man, I should just go back to Clemson. This team stinks. This team's terrible. But hey, he has no choice. That quarterback room, boy.
Absolutely. All right, next up, last and not least, as we send Mark out with this, Reds reliever Amir Garrett has pitched a lot better as of late, of course, but he found himself on the mound on the end of another blown lead in the Reds' 6-4 loss against the Padres late last night, snapping the Reds' 6-game winning streak. Amir Garrett had a ton of confidence coming into this season. In fact, Mark, he was one of my favorite. I said Amir Garrett's going to be my next player to buy a jersey of, and I'm glad I haven't. But that's what I thought coming into the season, because I love his personality. I love everything about him. He did have a confidence with him over the last couple of years, especially going to fight the Pirates the way he did. I love that type of stuff. I feel, I love the personality that he had, but he always had the play to back it up. Now his play's not backing that up, and that's the problem, and that's why a lot of people are attacking him right now. But how much sympathy do you have for Amir Garrett, who right now is trying so hard to be the face of that bullpen, to be one of the biggest names in baseball, and right now his play is not backing up his confidence? On a scale of 1 to 10, the sympathy meter ranking you have for him is what?
Low. 1 or 2. That's
tough room. My goodness.
Baseball. It's ups and downs. Guys struggle. Amir Garrett's a nice player. He's not a great player. He's a nice player. He's a middle reliever. Yep. I think that's his ceiling. So middle relievers are middle relievers because they're not good enough to be starters and they're not consistent enough to be closers. So you're going to have these ups and downs. My sympathy meter is pretty low for Amir Garrett. Nice player. I think it would be the same way for Lucas Sims or TJ Antone. That's why you're a middle reliever.
Man, oh man, I remember meeting him.
Mark just hates all the players. You notice that? He'd rip me for that, by the way.
We met him out at one of the Reds caravans that came to town. It was so cool dude. Took pictures, all the great stuff that the Reds players do with the fans and everything like that. But, not like I had like anything deep to talk to him about, but we were talking about sneakers. And you guys both know that I'm a sneakerhead. So him talking about sneakers and everything like that, I have a soft spot for him because I'm a sneakerhead just like he is. So I feel some sympathy for him. But at the end of the day, it's your job to get outs. And you're not doing it. And they keep putting you out there.
Walking batters,
opportunity after opportunity, and it's just looking bad. And you're the big name. Like, he was the name that everybody was so excited about. And that's the thing about expectations. When you're drafted low and nobody cares about you, and you exceed expectations, everybody loves you. But when you're expected to do great things and you're just middle of the road, everybody's like, man, I'm over this dude. So I'm going to go at a 2.
Yeah, for me, I do have sympathy for Amir Garrett, and I'm just going to be honest with you. It's because I'm a huge fan of his. Like I said, I was very close to buying his jersey coming into this season. I've held off on that for obvious reasons. Do you ever have a guy that you want them to work? You want it to work really, really bad, even though it's just not. And let me ask you, you said, it's the peaks and valleys, the ups and the downs, but how long is a struggle before you just consider who they are? Because like that's where I'm at with Eugenio Suarez right now, Mark, where I'm like, everyone keeps saying, oh, just give it time. He'll hit out of it. He didn't hit out of it the last year's 60 game shortened COVID season. And we're 2.5 months into the season now with him hitting at a pitcher's average right now. Mm-hmm. So at what point does a drought or at what point does a struggle just become reality? And I guess that's where I'm at with Amir Garrett, where I really want it to work, but I don't know if it will.
Well, the best predictor of future success is past success, and Eugenio Suarez has had a lot of past success. I think one thing that hurts Amir Garrett specifically is the 3-batter rule. I think Amir Garrett could be a heck of a lefty-on-lefty pitcher if that's something that he focused on. If they were like, hey, we want you to focus on getting left-handers out, I bet you he'd get better at that. As a lefty, kind of throws not directly over the top. I think but that kind of has gone out the window for the most case with the 3-batter rule specifically. I think Amir Garrett's been given a lot of opportunity. Amir Garrett has been with the Reds so long. I interviewed him when I was out at spring training. I haven't worked here in 3 years. So this is at least 4 seasons ago when I was out in Glendale for spring training. So I interviewed him there when I did my feature that I think it was on Wednesday. I did the feature on the bullpen. So he's been there a long time. He's been a nice pitcher. I think your expectations for middle relievers should be what they are, minimal. If they're really good, they become closers. Josh Hader, for example. Mark Melanson's another one. And he's kind of where he is. He's a left-handed bullpen pitcher. He's okay. I don't know how quickly you give up on him. I'd roll him out there. If his ERA gets to 7, then maybe that's when you do it. But he's okay. He's fine. I don't know who they would get that's better. That's the other side of the coin. Who do you got to bring in? Who are you going to bring in that's better? I have no idea.
All right, and that is the sympathy meter. All right, well, that was a quick 2 hours, Mark. We appreciate you popping in and hanging out for a bit. You don't have to wait 3 years now. Nick, it's 3 years. It has been 3 years. It is 2021. So absolutely. But
gives me more time. I can go to the gym every day. I lost 30 pounds. I make sausages at home. It's my neighbors and I do make bratwurst. So we keep busy. And hey, you got to have something to do when it's negative 20 for 9 straight days in Minneapolis, which it was this last February. So weather's a little hairy up there, but I really like it in the Twin Cities, but it's really nice to be back here. I really haven't done anything radio-wise. I've been on a couple shows doing like spot stuff. Yep. People ask me to come on, and it's been a while, and I really appreciate you having me come in. It's just brings back a flood of memories to be in this room, and a lot of them, a majority of them are very good.
When you hosted, how good were you with clock management? Because I'm horrible at it, and I know
It was a lot different when I'm by myself, because you can time things out a little more. But when you got other people talking, it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, like I'm always telling Kev, we got to get out, and Kev just keeps talking and talking. Yeah, he's going to kill me. He knows. So he hits the music to tell me, okay, shut up. Well, we got to get moving. But we do. But we appreciate you coming in.
It ain't me you got to worry about. It's Debbie.
Exactly.
Got to get those spots in before the top of the hour. That's important.
Keeps the lights on around.
But hey, I did learn this. If you move them up, they get played in the hour. She won't say a word. The clock floats a little bit. She won't say a word. Debbie, love you out there if you're listening. Worked with her for a long
legal
time.
ID thing.
Let's get that legal ID. You got what, 5 minutes or how? You got 5 minutes leeway on
we
that.
got 10 minutes coming up now. I missed a whole break. So
God.
missed a whole break. So there we go.
See, that's my influence on this. I'm windy. Windy.
There we go. Folks, or not folks, we got another hour. Mark gets to leave. We have another hour to go.
Thank you, Dayton.
So Mark, thank you so much for popping in. We appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
Hour 3 coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Incubus live. September 5th, Rose Music Center at the Heights. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com and the Rose Music Center box office. For more info and tour dates, visit IncubusHQ.com. Don't miss Incubus live.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Body Shop Manager at Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need a dependable body shop, we're here to help, repairing all makes and models. Our technicians have over 125 years experience. That means we can repair your vehicle quickly and efficiently. Our department is state-of-the-art with new equipment to get you back on the road quickly. We offer loaner cars during service and free estimates. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Get the tool you need to finish your projects with Metabo pneumatic nailers. Choose from our selection of in-stock roofing, framing, or finish nailers. They are quick and easy to use and are now all 11% off. Get 11% off everything at Menards. Good through June 19th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-362-2000, 362-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps' new summer menu is here. Fresh salads, house-made chicken salad subs, the pep and honey pizza, and more. Bring it home or dine on Milano's patio. See all your choices at milanosubs.com.
Because it's my vision, I take the most studied eye vitamin brand.
Because it's my vision, I take the eye vitamin brand backed by 20 years of research.
Because it's my vision, I take PreserVision.
Age-related macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss in adults over 60. That's why the National Eye Institute did 20 years of clinical studies on the formula that's found in PreserVision. From the eye experts at Bausch & Lomb, PreserVision AREDS 2 formula eye vitamins contain the exact nutrient formula recommended by the National Eye Institute to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression.
Because it's my vision, I made a plan with my doctor that includes PreserVision. Find PreserVision in the vitamin aisle. Available at Walmart.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
If you are push mowing your yard using an inefficient lawn tractor, or your current zero turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time you look at the Hustler Zero Turn Lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated welded steel decks. Don't settle on cheap units with flimsy stamped decks from big box stores. See Small Engine Service Pros and we'll guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
At Panera, dinner is hot and ready to serve. Bring home Panera's cheesy flatbread pizzas, toasty sandwiches, or creamy mac and cheese with delivery or pickup. Availability and pricing may vary.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps is celebrating the sunshine with a bunch of fresh new menu choices, from pizzas to salads to subs. See all the creative flavors in store for you right now at milanosubs.com.
Hey, my name is Jonelle, and a little thing that I love about Chick-fil-A's new Lemon Kale Caesar salad is every tender, warm, juicy piece of grilled chicken. It's a Caesar salad, but it's different. You have the Parmesan breadcrumbs and the mixture of lemon with that romaine and kale. It's almost something I can't explain, but it'll make you want to sing. Lemon Kale Caesar.
Order the new Lemon Kale Caesar salad on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
This year, make Dad's day with gifts from the Home Depot. Get low prices on power tools from top-rated brands like Milwaukee, DeWalt, and Ryobi, so Dad can tackle his projects like a pro. Plus, get more time with Dad thanks to free delivery when you order online. Save on top-rated tool brands and get free delivery. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. See store for details. Restrictions apply.
This is the sound of a popular American motorcycle. It's the sound of freedom, the open road, really good times. And this is what it sounds like with a drunk guy on it. How do you like the sound of that? Cops are cracking down on drunk motorcycle riders. If you ride drunk, you will get caught and you will get arrested. Drunk riding, over the limit, under arrest. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Lowe's is your go-to for great gardening values every day. Select bagged mulch is now just $2.88 a bag. Selection and product availability vary by location while supplies last. U.S. only.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. We're live We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, we are back. Hour 3, the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Happy Friday. Hope you have big plans heading into the Father's Day weekend. And, we got one more hour to go before we head into the weekend, so excited about that. Reds go down last night to the Padres. Now, the loss I feel good about, but at the same time, I'm not going to overreact to a loss, but I will overreact to a series loss. You cannot take 4 straight at St. Louis on the road, and you can't take 3 straight at Milwaukee, first place Brewers at the time on the road, and then follow it up with, dropping 3 of 4 or getting swept by the Padres. It just can't happen. But what a game last night. We'll talk about more of that coming up here around the corner. We'll also get into the lineups now that those are out, and we have that coming up as well. But Kev, I have an update. So we talked with Heather Dinich earlier in the week regarding the potential format to the 12-team model playoff, of course, for college football. And, a lot that's in there. And one thing I asked Heather Dinich about when she was on was, or mainly stated to her, I am getting real irritated with hearing about, it's not fair because the Pac-12, there's been multiple years where the Big Ten hasn't been represented. Mm-hmm. There's been multiple years where the Pac-12 hasn't been represented. And I really get annoyed when people stop there and don't follow it up with why they think it's unfair. Why is it unfair that the Pac-12 didn't have a representative for a few years, especially the last couple? Why is it unfair that Ohio State, who, by the way, their college football playoff nominee or, team that, was favored to do it, they lost to Purdue and got blown out by Purdue. They got blown out by Iowa. Right. That's their fault. The committee didn't do that to Ohio State. Ohio State shot themselves in the foot when they lost to Purdue. When they not just lost, again, you could lose. The playoff, even the 14 playoff, has been forgiving to teams like Alabama and others who have a loss. But what you can, even Ohio State's made the playoff while losing to the conference champion, and they still got the rub to get in the playoff over that team. So, that's the thing. I'm tired of hearing about that. So it's interesting. The college football playoff director, Bill Hancock, has come out and said that the meeting went really well today. It's the first time that everyone regathered after, of course, the proposal was sent out to everybody. And the only conference, Kev, that had an issue with it was the Pac-12. The Pac-12. And, I found this article a little bit interesting because they were talking about how the Pac-12 has taken a branding hit by being left out of the college football playoff conversation for a few years. And this is why I asked Heather Dinich this. Why are we more obsessed with expanding the playoff field to make them feel better than just telling the conference and holding the teams to a higher standard, saying, get your stuff together? Like, that's the problem I have here. The Pac-12, maybe you should sit this one out. If the Big Ten has an issue with it, if the SEC by all means has an issue with it, or if the ACC, who, they're used to having a representative every year, I get if they would have complaints or concerns about X, Y, and Z. But the Pac-12, you didn't not make in fact, if anything, I think that in a perfect world, Kev, if an undefeated USC, an undefeated Alabama, an undefeated Ohio State, and an undefeated Clemson, that's your playoff every year. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, that's your playoff every year, which that would then be the problem of it's the same teams all the time, which that's kind of the problem now. But my point is that there hasn't been an undefeated Pac-12 team left out of the dance. There hasn't been a one-loss team that, that one loss was it was a good loss, that they should have been respected more anyway. Multiple loss Oregon teams, multiple loss USC teams, a 3-loss USC team that then goes and wins every game to close out the season that year that they played in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State. That's a good football team. I believe it was obvious Sam Darnold was the quarterback of that team. They lost 3 straight at the beginning of the season. That's on them. So why are we supposed to feel bad for these conferences who got left out? People always forget to list the reasons for why those conferences got left out. So that's why I don't like these blanketed statements of, well, it's not a good look for the Pac-12 because we've been left out a few years and it's really hurt our branding. Well, then maybe you should put the pressure on USC to represent their brand in your conference better. Maybe Oregon needs to not lose late in the season to teams that they should be beating. It's hard to make arguments for, you should be in the playoff fighting for a championship when you can't even beat one of the worst teams in your conference that year. So, Kev, I have little, if we're doing the sympathy meter game here, the Pac-12, I have zero sympathy for them in this. I didn't really explain this, Kev. They believe that the Power Five, that they should get the auto bids automatically, no matter what. And that's bogus, man. That's bogus. The SEC won't let me say what I really want to say right there, but it's bogus. I think that's messed up. Like I said, of all the conferences that are complaining, and they're the only one, you should sit this one out, Big 12 or Pac-12, because you really have no one to blame but yourselves.
What they're trying to say is that it's a bias, and I do believe there are biases in college football, especially in college football. I do believe there is a West Coast bias. I do believe there is an SEC bias. I think that teams from the SEC get an extra rub. I do believe that teams like, I don't know, Florida, and the years that Ole Miss are good, they get an extra rub because Alabama is good. I don't necessarily believe that should ever be the case. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in. Yes, I believe there is a East Coast bias because half the country is going to bed after the 8 o'clock game is over. So they're going to bed. They're going to watch the opening monologue to Saturday Night Live, and then they're going to shut it down like about 11 o'clock midnight, where a lot of these other games in the Pac-12 are kicking off. And that is why the Fox network has the big noon kickoff. That is why you have Pac-12 games kicking off at 9:30 in the morning, because they can be on more TV sets. They can be seen by more viewers and everything like that. I feel some type of sympathy in that regard because those things absolutely do exist. But the crux of the matter is, if you win the games, everything will take care of itself. And that is the beauty of sports. Sports, you have a lot of obstacles in front of you, just like life. But the difference between regular life and sports is once you get between the lines, you can eliminate anything that's in your path. You can control the outcome by winning the game, by recruiting better, by cheating better, if that's the case, is that's what you're going to do to get better players. Shouts out to Coach Herm.
Hello.
So whatever you got to do it, to win the games, they can't take it away from you if you win the games. So if you go ahead, who was the last team from the Pac-12 to make it? Washington. They didn't perform too well against Alabama. That was one of the most ugly semifinal games we've ever seen because, Lane Kiffin was out here calling plays that they didn't practice and everything like that. And Washington couldn't move the ball versus that Alabama defense and everything like that. That game was ugly. So I did want to ask you about that because this kind of ties in. How long does a reputation stick with you? Because now the Pac-12 has a reputation of being soft. They ain't no good, everything like that. They have that reputation now. Right now, the Big 12 has a reputation of, it's arena football. They don't play any defense. But what if I told you last year that according to the analytics and stats, the Big 12 had the second-ranked best defense in college football last year, and the SEC gave up way more points than the Big 12 did. So how long does a reputation stick with a conference? How long does it stick with a team? What do you have to do as a player to get that reputation off you? What do you have to do as a conference to get that bad rep off of you?
I will say, and by the way, you're right, as far as that, I don't know if those biases, I know you'll disagree, and a lot of people, I don't know if those biases exist in the committee room as much as we think. Because if they did, Kev, Notre Dame would not have made the college football playoff either time. Because, you know what I mean? We're not going to put them in the playoff because look at every time they get to the championship game or they get to the playoff, they get blown out. How many more times does Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma Sooners have to get blown out in the playoff before that bias finally keeps them out of the playoff? We like to rip the committee, but I do think they do a good job of basing it off of their season, off of that particular season. I think the biases you talk about, Kev, are more fan/media biases that I think are deserving because that's who you are. I mean, how many times do the individual players get it all the time? Oh, for Tracy McGrady had it in the NBA for the longest time. Couldn't win in the first round every year, knocked out in the first round. Those exist all the time. Giannis is going through that right now. He's trying to fight through that reputation of, he's a number two. He's not really a number one. He's an opener, not a closer. We hear that all the time. So I think that's kind of where we're at. I agree. All those reputations exist, and I don't think they go anywhere for a while, which is why I love that you brought up the fact that the SEC gave up more points per game on average than what the Big 12 did, who everyone looks at the Big 12 as arena football or whatever. So, but no, when you talked about the Pac-12 and you said that you felt bad for them a little bit because of the biases, my only counter to that is until those biases keep them out of the playoff, I don't think those biases matter as much.
That's fair.
So, and for it, like if, let's say, an undefeated USC team got left out because a one-loss Alabama team got in because they lost by a field goal to Georgia, who's number 2 in the country, then I could see where the bias would come into play, because you would never leave an undefeated SEC team out. But there has never been an example of a bias. Like people talk about biases all the time, the West Coast this, West Coast that, and East Coast bias, East Coast bias. I think those biases exist with you and I. I think the reason you and I aren't, or for me, I'm sorry, I'm not as high on those West Coast teams as much because I don't watch them as much.
But got to get your coffee intake up.
But I also don't need to watch every single Pac-12 game to know that, well, the team that should represent you in the conference or in the college football playoff, I don't need to watch every game to know that a 2-loss USC or an Oregon team should not be in the playoff. And that's where I come at you with that. So that's my counter to that. I'm not saying that those biases don't exist, but the bias is not why the Pac-12 has been kept out of the playoff in the years that they have. And if anything, the bias has always been, everyone likes to wave this flag of, oh, they hate Ohio State. They don't like Ohio State. For one, it's a business. Ohio State is ratings bonanza. Trust me. If anything, they want to find reasons to put them in. You got blown out by 30 against Iowa. They kept you out. That's why. You got beat by 30. You didn't just lose. You got beat by 30. Same thing with Purdue. It's really not that hard to figure out. I know that there's a ton of Buckeye blogger sites out there that everyone wants to read, and they want to say, oh, everyone's out to get us, but stop it with that nonsense. That's not really the case. If anything, the bias has helped Ohio State. How about the year that they lost to Penn State? Penn State goes on to win the Big Ten championship. The College Football Playoff Committee, they are all about conference championships, right?
That's what they were told the Big 12.
Yeah, and then they take the Big Ten champion and leave them out so that the team that lost to the Big Ten champion could make the playoff. That's crazy to me. Like, we see instances all the time. How about this past year? Ohio State played 3 less games than everybody else in the college football playoff. But, the bias of Ohio State. We know how good they are. We know how good Ryan Day is. We know how good Justin Fields is. We know how many NFL players are on that roster. So that's where I get annoyed when people say, oh, the bias is against Ohio State. No, the bias is for Ohio State. There has never been a bias against them. But sometimes bias is a good thing when it benefits your team.
Absolutely.
But I rambled a lot there. But your counter, I mean, what do you think about that? Like, has a bias kept the Pac-12 out? I don't believe it has.
I don't think it's kept them out, but I think it keeps them out of the conversation. I think they start at a place where they're out of sight, out of mind. I think they almost start in a position where they're only a step ahead of the AAC.
Yep.
Like, and for my money, teams like a UC, Memphis, and UCF, they can compete at the same level as teams from like Pitt, North Carolina State, Florida State right now, Arizona, Oregon State. Like, if you dump them, UC, into those conferences, they would do better than those teams because those teams are terrible. But the teams from the AAC, they're good. But those other schools, they get the rub from being in the Power 5. Like, you're telling me that UC isn't better than Vanderbilt at football? Memphis is better than Vanderbilt at football. So those teams from those Power 5 conferences, like, they get the rub from the teams that are actually doing all the work. Bama's doing the work. They're winning the championships. LSU pops up there every once in a while. Auburn jumps up there every once in a while. In reality, Florida hasn't been up there since Herb was there. And all of them are eating off of Alabama's plate. So I don't necessarily believe that this whole thing, like, about the SEC, like, y'all all right, they're good. Y'all good. Y'all good conference. But are y'all markedly better than the Big Ten and the other conferences? I truly don't believe that. Yes, we know the big dog is eating. Bama's eating for sure. We know that Clemson is eating for sure. But everybody in the ACC, y'all waving the ACC banner because of what Clemson doing? Nah, that's Clemson's title. Y'all catch up to them. So like you talked about with, if you want to be at the table, win the games and everything like that, those other teams that are eating off the teams that are really putting in the works plate, you got to hold your own. And the Pac-12, hold your own. You got to look at yourself in the mirror. USC, UCLA, Oregon. Oregon's the team that should have been making it but they haven't been getting over the hump because they'll lose that SEC game by a touchdown. Like, oh man, it was a good game, but they ultimately lost. But like we just talked about, you can get in with one loss, but then you end up losing to Arizona State on an 8:00 game, and then it's over for you. Or then you look at your most high profile team in USC. They're just not getting over the hump. I know right now they got like this whole mantra, take back the West and everything like that. Lock down California. Stop letting these dudes go to Arizona State and Herm Edwards. Stop letting them go up to Oregon and everything like that. We're going to see how that works out for y'all.
Technically, California was locked down and Herm Edwards was still getting them dudes to come to campus.
Come on now. But my point is, look yourselves in the mirror. You can control what's going on. You, as the Pac-12 or any conference for that matter, you just look at it as a team. If you go out there and you win in the Power 5, you're in. Now, the teams from, the AAC and Conference USA, you can go undefeated and you're still going to be locked out. Shouts out to Coach Fickle down there at UC. But the teams from the Power 5, you got every advantage in your favor. Just go win the game.
Yeah, the bias is against the American Conference.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking at undefeated Cincinnati Conference champions, top 10 team, and saying, yeah, I don't know. You don't play anybody. That's our bias against you. Even though, so they want to put USC in. They want to put Oregon in. There's no bias against. There's bias amongst media and fans against that conference because we just say, "Oh, that conference is bad." But I'm telling you, the College Football Playoff Committee wants to get the Pac-12 in, especially branded teams. I don't know if they're fighting to put Washington in, Kev, but I tell you what, if there's a chance to put Oregon or USC in, they're going to fight pretty hard to get one of those two programs in there. I will say this: you brought up a good point about the SEC. Everyone just it's the like Ohio State is the face of the Big Ten, Alabama the face of the SEC. There are narratives out there that are wrong. Like, for instance, oh man, the Steelers, how many Super Bowls would they have had if it wasn't for the equivalent of Michael Jordan in the pay? How many the Bulls dynasty kept how many guys from winning titles in the 90s in the NBA? People kept trying to use that comparison to the Patriots keeping the Steelers from winning all these Super Bowls over the last decade. And then you go back and look. I hate when people say that. Man, if it wasn't for the Patriots, the Steelers would have won a lot more, though. You're not giving them enough credit. Like, they actually have only played the Patriots once in the last 10 years in the playoffs. In fact, the Steelers have more losses to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs than they do the New England Patriots. That's what's crazy about it all. So at the end of the day, that's what's going on in the SEC. I don't have this in front of me, but I promise you, when we do the show next week, I'm going to look at this. I want to go back and look at, oh, man, if it wasn't for Alabama, Florida would be in the playoff more. If it wasn't for Alabama, Georgia. And how many seasons have ended where Alabama's Florida's only loss? How many times has the season ended where Georgia's only loss is Alabama? Same thing for LSU. No, you're losing to all the other teams in the SEC on top of Alabama.
It's that hard, man. It needs more.
So that's what I don't want to hear that. Same thing in the Big Ten. It's not as if Michigan, like everyone's like, oh, Ohio State's keeping Michigan down. Yes, it's because Ohio State's way better, but how many times has Michigan come in with multiple losses already? It's not an Ohio State thing. It's that Michigan's not the second best team in the conference thing. That's where I come with that. So there you go. All right. Ron Howard, who always swears when he calls into the show, but I do appreciate him.
No. He is suspended.
He's suspended indefinitely?
Yeah, office.
But he's coming through the clutch right here. No. He says the weather's starting to get funky up here. It's heading your way next. Be careful. So
okay, fine.
He didn't cuss in that. It's just, whatever.
Ron,
man, Ron,
you're my guy.
Kevin's the most forgiving dude out there. I'm the one that holds just like a mofo.
Dude, let the cuss on the air. No, not on my watch.
I'm jealous. I would love to cuss on the air. It happened once. It was back when Aaron Woods was here. I remember I said it, and I didn't think anyone caught it, and Aaron's sitting over there hitting the dump button, and he goes, just go to break. He panicked. I'm like, I'm actually surprised that it's only happened once.
Goodness.
I did call Schlemmer a bad name one time on the air, though, that really could have got me in some trouble that we got out of there as well. Shea was really good with the dump button.
Goodness gracious.
He was the MVP when it came to that.
I can't believe y'all, man.
All right. Kev is perfect. Never made a mistake.
Oh. When I said nipple?
Yeah. Oh, that was, yeah. Nip, little Janet Jackson action there. A little nip flip. We'll be back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather. This afternoon will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high near 90. Tonight's also going to be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a low near 68. And tomorrow will be cloudy with showers and thunderstorms, a high around 86. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
I can pop a beer in here, right? Your cousin from Boston. This here is Sam Adams Boston Lager. It's my go-to beer. Not too heavy, not too light. Oh boy. That's whoopsie daisy. Oh no. Is there somebody that can help? Come on in the room. It poured right in the keyboard. Relax. I spill beer on my computer all the time. Sam Adams Boston Lager. The Boston Beer Company, Boston, Massachusetts. Drink responsibly.
This is Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Scott Damaro.
June is Pride Month, and OEA is proud to celebrate Ohio's LGBTQ community. We know our students can only thrive when they feel safe and welcome. And as educators, we must continue to create learning environments that nurture each student's potential, no matter where they live, what they look like, what gender they were assigned at birth, or who they love.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Just like your favorite hometown baseball team, your Enterprise Roofing team is all about protecting home. We've been locally owned and operated since 1926. So for high quality roofing repair and replacement services you can count on down the stretch, call 937-240-2206 or visit roofup.com today. Enterprise Roofing is a proud supporter of the Cincinnati Reds.
Because it's my vision, I take the most studied eye vitamin brand.
Because it's my vision, I take the eye vitamin brand backed by 20 years of research.
Because it's my vision, I take PreserVision.
Age-related macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss in adults over 60. That's why the National Eye Institute did 20 years of clinical studies on the formula that's found in PreserVision. From the eye experts at Bausch & Lomb, PreserVision AREDS 2 formula eye vitamins contain the exact nutrient formula recommended by the National Eye Institute to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression.
Because it's my vision, I made a plan with my doctor that includes PreserVision. Find PreserVision in the vitamin aisle. Available at Walmart.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Tired of deciding what to cook tonight? Frickers is ready when you are with everyone's favorite ribs and frickin' chicken chunks. Tender baby back ribs and frickin' chicken chunks, only $12.99 dine-in only. Take the day off as kids 10 and under eat free every day. And you can relax and let Frickers take care of everything. Baby back ribs, frickin' chicken chunks, and kids eat free at the one place that makes lunch, dinner, or late night easy. The home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Baby back. Baby back.
Hi, Pete Kasugi here to tell you that if you're looking for the very best selection of your favorite garden plants, we grow over 125 varieties of tomatoes, peppers, cabbage, broccoli, cucumber, okra, cantaloupe, and eggplants. And if you haven't tried our famous Neighbor Beater tomato plants, come out and pick up a few and enjoy the best taste you ever had from your garden. They taste so good, you'll wish you planted more. And remember, Neighbor Beater garden plants are sold only at our garden center at 1309 Brand Pike. So get out that shovel and start digging. It's time for gardens, bedding plants, rose bushes, vines, and ground covers, shade trees and shrubs, bird baths and fountains, and so much more. So join the green revolution and come out and see us at 1309 Brand Pike.
You know, a few days ago while hanging out with my family, I noticed my father staring blankly at me. Something's not right, I thought. Is he having a stroke? Then I remembered to act fast, F-A-S-T, and did this quick test. F, face. I asked my father to smile. One side of his face drooped. A, arm. I asked him to lift both arms. No problem there. S, speech. I asked him to repeat a phrase. His speaking was slurred. T, time. I called 911 for immediate help. This way, he began receiving life-saving treatment in the ambulance.
My father was out of the hospital in a few days, all because he made it to the hospital within an hour of his stroke. Practice recognizing the signs of a stroke so that you can act fast to save a loved one.
This message is brought to you by the Ohio Department of Health's Covered L Stroke Program.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Lowe's is your go-to for great gardening values every day. Select bagged mulch is now just $2.88 a bag. Selection and product availability vary by location while supplies last. U.S. only.
The Reds are on the radio. Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
All right, we are back, I think. Is it on?
We're on.
These headsets, man.
We're rocking.
You know, these headphones are pretty old. I've had these probably for almost 10 years now, and they still work. They still work?
Apple makes good products.
The reason I know they're that old is because this is the regular jack at the end and not the one that you have to get the
lightning cable.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Apple, man. Again, it's just the equivalent to sports fans. We sit there and complain, but we're right there to continue to buy the next iPhone and continue to buy the Bengals tickets because we just like punishment for some reason. Except I'm not comparing the Bengals to Apple. Like, Apple's successful. So, all right. What?
Goodness, you just couldn't help it.
But, you know, it is what it is. So, look, yeah, and again, just closing thoughts on this and then moving on to the next topic. But yeah, the college football playoff meetings are continuing, and I'm done. I'm tired of hearing about, the poor Pac-12, that this 14 playoff isn't fair because some conferences don't get represented. Well, duh. It was always going to be unfair. And actually, it was never going to be unfair because the whole purpose of the playoff was never to have equal representation amongst the conferences. For instance, it's a Power 5 and it's a 14 playoff. What idiot ever thought that it was supposed to be fair? It's a 14 playoff and there's a Power 5. At what point did the Power 5 think that it was going to be equally represented amongst them? Like, I've never once thought that. That's why I'm like, they already have an SEC team in it. It's about the top 4 teams. And the Pac-12 they have not had a top 4 team in how long? I mean, so that's why I get annoyed with that. Like, stop. We're creating arguments for looking for answers that don't exist because the question should have never been asked to begin with. The playoff was never designed to give equal representation to the conferences. And the reason is because it shouldn't be. Because a conference champion out of the Pac-12 over the last 3 or 4 years, they're not a top 5 team to begin with. So why would you give them an auto bid? Like, that's what drives me nuts. I mean, hell, even in the March Madness, you have your auto conference champion bids, you get bad teams in, but at least because you could fit 68 teams in, you can re-rank them. So if you're a 14-win conference champion because you caught fire during your conference tournament, it's not like you're going to be guaranteed a high seed. No, you still could be a 16 seed. You could still be in the play-in tournament, at UD Arena. So that's all. Some of the problems that have stemmed from the 14 play. The real problems are it's the same teams every year. That's the real problem. The problem of sometimes the Big Ten's left out, and sometimes that's not a problem. It's just not, because the teams that have been left out, They deserve to be left out. That's all. That's, frustrating.
I think people are just frustrated because of looking at the NFL, and college football and NFL have such an overlap. And obviously the talent pool comes from college and they go to the pros and everything like that. So you look at teams like the Washington football team, who was 8-8, and they made the playoffs and hosted a playoff game and everything like that. You see wild card teams win the Super Bowl with the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers have done it in the past and everything like that. So the overlap, and they're looking at that league and saying, well, why can't we do it? Well, there's 120 plus teams. There's only 32 in the NFL. So
and everyone's playing the same competition. Now, I'm not saying the Browns don't play the Patriots every year. I get that. But all I'm saying is the NFL, the worst team in the NFL still has professional football players in it. The worst team in college football has guys that probably shouldn't be playing Division I football. And even the Division I football Bowling Green Falcons, they're considered D1 football players, but they don't match up to Ohio State, who is also D1. That's the disparity in the competition.
And then they are playing in their conference where they play like in competition. Yes. So that when you're watching a Tuesday night action and everything like that, and you're watching a great game, because the people out there that are playing football are equally matched. Yep. That's all you really want is equally matched football. But in college football, you have such a wide array of talent and everything like that. You can't possibly make a even or equal way to crown a champion. So you have this imbalance and everything that happens. And also, they created a 14 playoff and they got exactly what they wanted. They got people talking and talking and talking and talking and talking.
And that's one thing we were told about, like Mike Golick Jr., Heather Dinich, and Jason Fitz, when he does his regular visit with us. When they did that mock selection, it was like what they were told behind the scenes is that they love it because even everyone who's bitching about it, your product's being talked about. Yes. That's all that matters.
This is easy advertising because you go on Twitter and you're complaining about the college football playoff. You're complaining about the rankings. So guess what? You're tuning in next week to see where your team lands. Like, okay, man, we beat the number 17 team. Let's see how many places we jump up. What? We dropped a spot. How can we? This is all free advertising for them. So that's the only situation where I'm looking at it as, why would they change it? Because you're getting exactly what you want. But I guess what their aspect is, or thought process is, if we open it up more, then more people will be talking about it. Maybe we'll open it up to that West Coast market. Maybe the West Coast market will be more interested later in the season, like in the back end of October and November when a lot of teams are out of it. So, like I said, man, we're obviously going to do a ton of college football talk come September and everything like that. But something that I'm definitely challenging myself, you and our listeners to something to do this upcoming season with college football. Let's come up with some new type of narratives. Let's come up with a new discussion. Let's not talk about the same things that we constantly talk about as college football fans, because, those are the type of things that get old. Let's challenge ourselves, not to just say, well, this team lost to this team, so this team means this team. Like, cross narratives, that doesn't necessarily equal anything. These teams play on one Saturday, so that doesn't necessarily mean that one team is better than the other. So I really want to challenge everybody to really watch the games and not rely on what the talking heads on ESPN think. Watch the games, come up with a narrative for yourself, because we saw this happen with Clemson and their close encounter with North Carolina like 2 years ago. Well, they had that close game against North Carolina. That's why they shouldn't be ranked that high. And that lasted all season long until they played the Buckeyes. Well, we're going to beat them. And unfortunately, Ohio State lost to Clemson that season. We got a revenge this season, by the way. I'm challenging people, man. Let's be watching the games, man. Let's not rely, because they're on. All the games are on. Mm-hmm. You can watch every single game. So I'm challenging people, man. Let's watch some football. Let's not just rely on the same narrative. SEC, I'm challenging y'all not to say, oh, it means more. Well, why does it mean more? How does it mean more? Y'all playing football just like everybody else. Big Ten, I'm challenging everybody in the Big Ten. Like, let's come up with some better narratives than, well, we're on TV more. We produce more money than anybody. We got X amount of ranked teams. Well, what are these ranked teams doing in the big game? Because when they're playing in the big game, hence Ohio State, they're losing. So is your team that team up north? Are you guys coming to play to win? Or are you coming to keep it close? Wisconsin. I know there's some Wisconsin fans out there, because there's a couple kids from Springfield who play for Wisconsin. So I know they're in the area. I'm challenging y'all to come to the table and win the game. I'm challenging everybody, man, because that's ultimately what this sport is about. Because you're in the Power Five, you control your destiny. You control your destiny. You talked about it a ton. Northwestern could have been in the college football playoff if they didn't lose that game to the Sparty. If they would have beat Sparty and beat Ohio State, Northwestern would have been in the college football playoff.
The Big Ten championship would have been a playoff game.
Yeah.
Because, and that, like, I remember that when they lost to, and that's why I didn't feel bad for Northwestern, because I'm like, well, you shot yourself in the foot. Northwestern is the equivalent to the Pac-12 because Northwestern had a path to get there. Everyone says, oh, no, it wasn't made for Northwestern. Yeah, it was, because Northwestern was a top 10 team. They got up to number 6, I believe. Mm-hmm. They were number 6. When they got up to number 6, they lost to Michigan State that week because they couldn't handle the pressure. Had they beat Michigan State, they won the rest of their games until the Big Ten championship game. It would have set up Ohio State against Northwestern, 2 undefeated teams, the winner going to the college football playoff. And they shot themselves in the foot. That's the Pac-12. They have a road to get there. They're painting this picture as if they just, it's stacked against it. No, you're 2-loss your best team in your conference every year has 2 losses. That's why you're not making the playoff. It's really not that hard to figure out. All right, we got the Reds and the Padres game 2 coming up later on here tonight. Kev, actually, real quick, who we got on hold?
We got James.
James, sorry for making you wait there, buddy. How are you?
That's quite all right. Doing great. Northwestern had a pass, and they did lose to Michigan State on the road. It doesn't because they choked. Pat Fitzgerald does not allow his teams to choke.
Oh, and they lose to a team that you shouldn't when you're ranked number 6 in the country and you have a pat. That's choking.
Yeah, but actually, I watched the game. They didn't choke. I think they were.
Did they lose?
Prepared. Well, they lost, but I'm just saying the matchup was not good. Yeah. So every time the Reds choked last night?
Yes.
They choked?
Yeah, they had the lead, bottom of the 9th. They choked.
Yeah, no, I just think it was just a matchup.
No. They had won 6 straight. They were playing a team that had lost 7 straight. The Reds were streaking. They were the hottest teams in baseball. The Padres are one of the coolest teams in baseball, and they choked the lead away.
All right, so going back to the Reds, so that was disappointing. Did you guys both watch the game last night?
I listened to it on the radio.
Yeah, so we were at Milano's, and so we're sitting outside in the patio listening to the Capo Brothers, and I'm looking at the TV screen and inside, and then what's the name of the backup catcher with the single to tie it up?
Oh, Stevenson.
Yeah, Stevenson in the single, and I sprinted and I was like, "Shit, they tied it." Sorry, and
man, come on, people! What are you doing to me here? Like, so you can't cuss. You just can't. You can't cuss. If I can't cuss, you can't cuss.
James, you are on suspension until
he's a first-time offender. He can call next week. A weekend suspended. He has to go to his room for 2 days.
A weekend.
He's a first-time offender.
Call this weekend.
It's not like
we're not here.
It's not like Ron who cusses every time he calls in and does the "oh man, I slipped." No.
Ron is out until after July.
Do they even get to appeal?
No. He is out until July 6th.
Well, I mean, I would appeal, Ron. Ron appeals.
Ron is not allowed to call or be on the air until August 2nd.
Oh, you track this? You have a little track. Oh,
my calendar.
So what's the criteria? Because I don't.
Ron cussed twice, so he's out 4 weeks.
What if I cuss? What are you going to do to me?
Well, you shouldn't worry about me. You should worry about that guy. Please give me 2 weeks off.
Please give me 2 weeks off.
Worry about that guy in the corner office. He'll call you a name.
There we go. I would deserve a name that probably can't be said over the air. And I would deserve it.
Not.
I would definitely deserve it. All right. Yeah. So we didn't hang up on you because you didn't know what a choke was. We just hung up on you because you said the naughty word. You can't say that. You can't cuss. I wish we could. We'll be back. Reds lineup coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Okay, 3 dozen by tomorrow morning. Yeah, the roses and
Faraz's flower shop is blooming. To keep up with high demand, he must strengthen his business's roots.
Just 1 second. Faraz's flowers. Hold, please. Hi, how are you doing? Welcome to Faraz's.
Indeed can help him hire the people he needs.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Reds fans, cheer on your Redlegs when they take on the Braves June 24th through the 27th, presented by Kroger's Zero Hunger, Zero Waste. Friday, June 25th, enjoy a spectacular post-game fireworks show. And Saturday, June 26th, the first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Queen City Sluggers triple bobblehead featuring Klazuski, Foster, and Suarez, presented by St. Elizabeth Healthcare. Purchase your tickets now at reds.com/promo.
The outdoor drama Tecumseh is back this summer. The drama, the history, and the spectacle make Tecumseh one of Ohio's most beloved traditions. Tecumseh has provided thrilling live entertainment for 50 years, and the outdoor theater at Sugarloaf Mountain will provide a safe and memorable experience for your entire family. Get tickets now at tecumsehdrama.com. This message is made possible in part by the Ohio Arts Council. Tecumseh, experience the drama.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer, and now is a great time to buy. For a limited time, Honda has extended 0% financing on the 2021 Honda Passport, Honda HR-V, Honda Pilot, and the 2021 Honda Odyssey for well-qualified buyers. See me, Sales Manager Jason High, for the complete details. We are located at Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way.
Hustler Turf commercial mowers are built tough to work hard. Whether you need a fleet of mowers or are a one-man show, you don't have time for downtime. Hustler mowers are over-engineered, overbuilt, and tested well beyond what is required, with the most complete lineup in the industry, including exclusives like a 104-inch Super 104, an 88-inch stand-on, and industry-leading warranties. Hustler mowers are ready to handle what you throw at them. Build your fleet to be reliable and versatile with Hustler Turf. Visit Small Engine Service Pros in New Carlisle today.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. From smoke and carbon monoxide alarms to fire extinguishers and more. Kidde home safety products keep your family protected from emergencies. Right now, all Kidde safety products are 11% off. Get 11% off everything. Now at Menards. Good through June 19th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps' new summer menu is the perfect pairing to the Big on Tap beer selection. Try your favorite craft beer with a bacon cheddar cheesesteak or a new Milano's Pizza choice. See the summer menu now at milanosubs.com.
Ad paid for by CompleteCar.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to the COVID crisis, we are announcing a low-cost extended service plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay nothing for auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay nothing for auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-549-1985 now. Drivers who are covered by this auto protection will not have to pay for a covered repair bill again. This auto coverage is at an all-time low, much lower than what dealerships are charging. Additionally, drivers who activate this auto coverage today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and free rental car at no additional cost. Call for your free quick quote today. 800-549-1985. 800-549-1985. What do you have to lose? Again, 800-549-1985.
Lowe's is your go-to for great gardening values every day. Select bagged mulch is now just $2.88 a bag. Selection and product availability vary by location while supplies last. U.S. only.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland & Summers. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Your lineup tonight for your Cincinnati Reds as they look to get back in the win column after their 6-game win streak was snapped last night in Game 1 against the Padres. And again, Amir Garrett, just another outing to forget, that's for sure. But leading things off for your Cincinnati Reds, starting at second base and batting first is Jonathan India. Batting second and in left field is Jesse Winker. In right field, batting third is Nick Castellanos. Batting fourth in the cleanup spot, center fielder Tyler Naquin. Joey Votto will bat fifth, and he'll get the start at first. At third base, batting sixth will be Eugenio Suarez. Behind the plate tonight and catching, batting seventh is Tucker Barnhart. Playing at short will be Kyle Farmer. He'll bat eighth, and batting ninth, your Reds starting pitcher tonight will be Tony Santillan. One more time, Jonathan India, Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos will bat 1, 2, and 3. 4, 5, and 6 belongs to Naquin, Votto, and Suarez. And then 7, 8, and 9, those hitters are Barnhart, Farmer, and your pitcher, Tony Santillan. So again, the Reds and the Padres, 10-10 the first pitch, 9:40 the pregame right here on Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds, 1410 Wing AM. Kev, if you remember a year ago, we had Jared Hoying on the show. Jared Hoying played at Fort Loramie in his high school days, and of course, had a pretty good long run in Major League Baseball. He played in the KBO. Remember, the only professional sports that was basically happening last year, which is why ESPN picked it up, was the Korean Baseball Organization. Jared Hoying from Fort Loramie actually went and played in that league for a while. In fact, a lot of guys did, But with him being local, it's interesting. We didn't know when he'd get the next opportunity to be called up to play Major League Baseball. In fact, I just saw an interview that he did recently, Kev, that he said him and his wife had settled in. They had finally bought a home, and they were locked in on just settling, post-baseball life now. He goes, not even a week after that, he gets a call from the Blue Jays, and they had some injuries in their minor league system up at AAA, and now he's been called up. The Blue Jays have selected the contract of the 32-year-old outfielder Thursday evening following their game against the Yankees. Hoying, a 2007 graduate of Fort Loramie High School, made his major league debut in 2016 with the Rangers, and now is, of course, playing for the Blue Jays. But he thought his career was done. He thought it was over, and then all of a sudden he gets this call. That's pretty cool for him. I'm happy for him. But, yeah, we had him on last year when he shared the story about what quarantine was like. At that time, quarantine was still it was a not newer, the word's been around, but we were still early in the process of COVID, of going through the quarantine process for these guys. So it was a cool story last year, and I'm glad to see him getting a chance back in the majors.
It's like that Godfather 3 line, just when I thought I was out,
they pull me back in. Yeah, man. All right, Kev. Ron Howard wants to know. He goes, Kev, can I get a pardon? And he has the prayer. He has, Ron, you're a two-time offender. Actually, multi-time. If we go back to the Schlemmer days, he's dropped those bombs a few times.
Unfortunately, no. Yeah. Unfortunately, no. You are out until I did have my days mixed up. For Ron. Ron is out until July 19th.
Oh, damn, Ron.
Yeah, Ron is out till July 19th.
We got to get an appeals process going.
I mean, we can have people's court.
Yeah. We can actually, what? That might be a new segment on the show next week. Last thing on this as we end the show today, and again, as we head into Father's Day weekend, Phil Mickelson earlier when we did the sympathy meter. Folks, I'm sorry. I know golf is a sport that, it's always been this way. It's got to be quiet when they're about to tee off and they're about to hit. You got to be quiet. But Phil Mickelson blaming his problems on the cell phone pictures, that irritated me. That's where I really lose my cool with whiny crybaby stuff. Like, stop. You just didn't have your stuff that day. That's as simple as that. It had nothing to do with if you are that mentally weak that a cell phone can keep you from playing well, that's on you and nobody else. Because when we talk professional sports, we make fun of kickers all the time, but yet kickers have to face more high pressure situations than these, big time golfers. Cody Parkey, and name any kicker out there. Those guys have faced more pressure situations than Tiger Woods. All right. Because Tiger Woods, he has to be quiet for Tiger Woods. He needs to be quiet because he has to concentrate. Can everyone be quiet so I can really concentrate on hitting this ball? But here's Cody Parkey and every other kicker in the National Football League. everyone calling their names, screaming, throwing stuff. You have the opposing coaches trying to freeze them by calling a timeout just to get them to think about it a little longer. No, these guys go and they kick. And if they make it, it's awesome. And if they miss it, they don't sit there and say, well, yeah, I missed it. It went wide right because the crowd was a little too loud for me. No. So I'm not going to give Phil Mickelson the benefit of the doubt. I think that's weak. Just saying.
Weak sauce.
Weak sauce with a side of extra weak sauce. Kev, have a great weekend.
You do the same.
Ron, do better.
See you in July, Ron.
Until Monday.
July 18th.
Until Monday, it's been the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. You know, on Mother's Day, we're supposed to always take the wives out, right? You're supposed to take the wives out on Mother's Day to celebrate them being great moms. But on Father's Day, the women look back at you and say, oh, we appreciate you so much. Now, can you make us a Father's Day dinner? So wrong.
Spark up the grill.
So wrong. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.